echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari, a young recluse who possesses the last remnants of her race's power, struggling to cope with her loneliness and the weight of her destiny. She longs for companionship but fears being betrayed again like she was by her own kind. Gideon, a mysterious wanderer who offers help to Akari, but harbors secrets that could change everything. He is drawn to Akari's power and the promise of a potential ally in his own quest for power. Zephyrus, a powerful beast whose allegiance lies with the remnants of the forgotten warrior's race and seeks to guide Akari on her journey. Despite his strength, he struggles to maintain control over his emotions as his memories of their shared past haunt him. With a heavy heart, Akari wandered through the arid wasteland, her eyes scanning for any sign of life amidst the desolation. The once thriving world had been reduced to ruins, and she felt a profound sadness at the sight of her people's decaying civilization. "I am all that is left," she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. But for how much longer? As she trudged onward, her senses alerted her to movement behind her. She spun around, drawing a small dagger from its sheath at her waist. In the distance, a creature emerged, part humanoid, part beast. It appeared to be some sort of mutation born from the radiation and chaos that had ravaged the world. The creature advanced on her with a growl, revealing razor-sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Akari stood her ground, determined not to show fear as she raised her dagger. Suddenly, another figure appeared beside her, wielding a large staff adorned with intricate carvings. "Do not fight," the stranger commanded, stepping between Akari and the approaching creature. "Who are you?" Akari demanded, lowering her weapon, but maintaining her guard. The stranger introduced himself as Zephyrus, a powerful beast who claimed to be loyal to the remnants of her people. "I will help you," he said softly, "but we must work together." Akari hesitated, unsure if she could trust this newcomer. But with no other options and the creature still advancing, she reluctantly agreed. Together, they fought the mutated beast, demonstrating an unexpected synergy in their abilities. After defeating the creature, Zephyrus spoke to Akari about a prophecy that had been whispered among his kind. He believed that she was destined to reclaim her people's lost powers and bring hope to the dying remnants of humanity. Akari scoffed at the notion, feeling weighed down by her loneliness and the burden of her destiny. "I am not their savior," she protested. "I am merely a ghost, haunted by memories that cannot be erased." Zephyrus looked sympathetic as he replied, "Perhaps you are more than you think. But first, we must find the artifact mentioned in the prophecy. It may hold the key to your true power." Together, they set off on a journey across the treacherous landscapes, their bond growing stronger as they faced challenges and hardships together. Along the way, Akari began to question her own beliefs and the nature of her people's extinction. Could she truly be the savior that Zephyrus believed her to be? And would she have the strength to face whatever dangers lay ahead? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the barren landscape. Akari, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, trudged through the desolate wasteland alongside Zephyrus. Their journey had been arduous, marked by relentless sandstorms and encounters with mutated beasts that tested their resolve. "I'm not sure I can keep going," Akari panted, her breath fogging in the chill of the night air. "My powers are draining away." Zephyrus, a hulking creature with wings like black sails and eyes glowing with an ethereal light, offered a sympathetic gaze. "We must find shelter before the storm arrives." Ahead, a dim light flickered amidst the dunes. Akari's heart raced. Could it be an oasis? Or something more sinister? Gideon emerged from the shadows, his face obscured by a cowl. "I've been watching you," he said, his voice barely audible. "You have potential." Akari froze, her eyes wide with fear and suspicion. "Who are you?" "I can help," Gideon replied, stepping closer. "But first, let's find shelter from this storm." Together, the three traveled toward the flickering light, the wind howling around them like a chorus of lost spirits. As they approached, Akari's heart pounded in her chest, her senses on high alert. Something didn't feel right. They entered a cave, the walls adorned with ancient carvings depicting scenes of power and struggle. In the center, a fire crackled, casting flickering shadows across the chamber. Gideon unveiled his face, revealing a handsome yet mysterious man. "Welcome, travelers," he said, his eyes never leaving Akari. "I am Gideon. Zephyrus growled low in his throat, his instincts warning him of danger. But Akari, trusting neither Zephyrus nor Gideon, felt a strange pull toward this stranger. "We will stay the night," she decided, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "But we must leave at dawn." Gideon inclined his head, his eyes never leaving Akari's. "Rest now. I have food and water." Akari settled by the fire, her body aching from the day's travel. Zephyrus remained vigilant nearby, watching for any sign of trouble. As she closed her eyes, sleep eluded her. Memories of her people, the pain of their extinction, and the weight of her destiny weighed heavily on her heart. In the depths of the night, a whispering wind seemed to speak secrets to Akari's mind, a voice from the past that she could not quite understand. She opened her eyes, staring into the flames, questioning everything she thought she knew about herself and her people. As dawn broke, Gideon presented them with a meal of dried meat and hard bread. Akari ate mechanically, her thoughts consumed by the cryptic voice from the night before. Zephyrus watched her closely, sensing something amiss. "We must leave," he urged, his wings rustling as he shifted anxiously. "I do not trust this place or Gideon." Akari hesitated, torn between her instincts and the strange allure of the mysterious stranger who promised to help her reclaim her people's lost powers. She glanced at Zephyrus, his eyes pleading with hers. In that moment, she made a choice that would change their lives forever. "I think we should stay," she said, her voice steady but shaky. "Gideon may know more about our people than anyone else." Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the cave walls glistened with moisture from the previous day's storm, droplets trickling down in a hypnotic dance. The dim light flickered, casting eerie shadows on the ancient carvings that lined the cave walls, their meaning still lost to Akari and Zephyrus. "You should rest," Gideon said, his voice echoing off the stone. "Tomorrow, we'll study these markings in earnest." Akari nodded, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She curled up near the fire, feeling a strange sense of peace in this hidden sanctuary. The cave felt like a safe haven after days of traversing the treacherous wasteland. Zephyrus paced around the room, studying the carvings with a keen eye. He could sense that they held secrets vital to their journey, but he couldn't decipher them. Frustration bubbled within him as he ran his fingers over the rough stone. "Perhaps I can help," Gideon said, stepping closer to Zephyrus. "These runes are reminiscent of an old language I once studied." Zephyrus hesitated, sensing a familiarity in Gideon's words that unnerved him. But he had no choice. They needed answers. He handed Gideon the carving he was examining. As Gideon traced over the runes, his eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. A holographic projection sprang to life, revealing a scene of warriors battling monstrous beasts. Akari's heart raced as she recognized her people in the carving. They were strong and fierce, their powers radiating from the image like a beacon of hope. But the scene quickly shifted, revealing a betrayal that tore apart their society. One of their own, a powerful warrior, turned against them, leading an army of twisted beasts that brought about their downfall. The carving ended with the last remnants of her people fleeing into exile, seeking refuge in hidden caves like this one. Akari felt a surge of anger and sadness wash over her. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her people were not weak or defeated. They had been betrayed. This revelation shook her to the core, making her question everything she thought she knew about her past. Gideon watched Akari intently as she grappled with the truth. He knew that this discovery would change everything, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. But he also sensed a growing unease within Akari, a feeling that she was beginning to suspect his true intentions. That night, as they sat around the fire, Gideon spoke softly, trying to ease her doubts. He told stories of their people's greatness and how their powers could save them from extinction. Akari listened, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. As the fire died down and the cave plunged into darkness, Akari felt a strange energy coursing through her veins. She rose to her feet, sensing that the revelation had awakened something within her. A newfound resolve burned in her eyes as she looked towards the future, determined to reclaim her people's lost powers and bring justice to those who betrayed them. Akari stood at the entrance of an ancient cave system, the carvings still fresh on her mind. She felt a strange energy coursing through her body, pulsing with every beat of her heart. Zephyrus nudged her gently, his eyes filled with concern. "You're feeling it too?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Gideon, ever the watchful one, stood nearby, his gaze flickering between them both. He knew that whatever this energy was, it could change everything. Together they ventured deeper into the caves, each step bringing them closer to understanding their people's past and the truth about Akari's power. The air grew cooler as they descended, dripping water coating their skin as if trying to wash away the mysteries that lay ahead. The cave walls were adorned with more carvings, scenes of battles and rituals long forgotten. Akari traced her fingers over one depicting a figure holding an object similar to the pendant she wore around her neck, a symbol of their people's power. A sudden jolt of energy rippled through her body, as if awakening something deep within. Gideon's eyes narrowed, a hint of fear flashing across his face before he quickly regained control. "We should rest for the night," he said, a note of urgency in his voice. "Tomorrow we continue our exploration." Akari nodded, her mind racing with thoughts of what this newfound power could mean for their journey. As they settled down to sleep, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Meanwhile, Zephyrus kept watch, his eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of danger. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, and he wanted to ensure Akari's safety above all else. But as he watched her sleep, a sense of unease settled in his heart. Something about Gideon didn't sit right, and he couldn't shake the feeling that their mysterious guide was hiding something. Echo of the forgotten warrior characters: Akari, Zephyrus, Gideon location, cave artifact, optional, pendant. As twilight descends upon the cave, Akari feels an overwhelming sensation of familiarity wash over her. She turns to Gideon, who has been studying a peculiar carving in the wall, and asks if he recognizes it. Gideon hesitates before admitting that it appears to be an ancient representation of the pendant she wears around her neck. "We should rest for the night," Akari says, looking towards Zephyrus, who has been keeping vigil on their camp. "I want to understand this better." Zephyrus nods, his eyes lingering on Gideon as he approaches the carving. His instinct tells him that there is more to this wanderer than he lets on, and he can't shake the feeling of unease creeping into his thoughts. The group sets up camp near the carving, with Zephyrus taking a position to keep watch over them all night. As Akari examines her pendant more closely, she feels another surge of energy coursing through her veins, making her pulse race and her heart swell with anticipation. She closes her eyes, focusing on the connection she feels with the carving before her. Gideon watches silently from a distance, his gaze fixed on Akari as she meditates. He can't help but wonder what secrets lie within that pendant, and whether it could hold the key to unlocking something far greater than they all realize. As night falls, Zephyrus catches sight of a strange creature lurking in the shadows near their camp. It seems to be watching them intently before vanishing back into the darkness. He alerts Akari and Gideon, but both of them dismiss his concerns as mere paranoia. However, as the night wears on, more creatures begin to emerge from the shadows surrounding the trio's camp. Zephyrus springs into action, using his power to fend off the attackers while Akari and Gideon try to escape. The creatures are relentless, their numbers growing by the minute as they close in on their prey. Akari feels a surge of newfound strength coursing through her veins, giving her the edge she needs to fight back against the monstrous beasts. She uses her powers in ways she never thought possible, unleashing a torrent of energy that decimates the creatures surrounding them. Gideon watches in awe as Akari demonstrates her newfound abilities, his curiosity growing stronger than ever before. As dawn breaks, the last of the beasts are vanquished, leaving the trio battered but alive. Zephyrus inspects their camp, finding that one item has been stolen from them: the pendant. Akari looks at Gideon accusingly, her heart heavy with loss and fear. "I didn't take it," he insists, "but I can sense its power growing stronger in your presence." Akari clutches the empty spot on her neck where the pendant once hung, tears streaming down her face. She knows that they will have to continue their journey without it, but she can't shake the feeling that something terrible is lurking just beyond the horizon. As they press on deeper into the cave system, Akari begins to feel more and more connected to the ancient power that courses through her veins. With each step, she feels herself changing, growing stronger and more powerful than ever before. She can sense the potential for greatness within her, a force that could either save or destroy them all. The journey is fraught with danger, but Akari knows that she must continue on. Her destiny lies ahead, and she will stop at nothing to reclaim what was lost and uncover the truth about her past. As they delve deeper into the cave system, the trio faces challenges unlike anything they've ever encountered before. But Akari knows that she is not alone. With Zephyrus by her side and Gideon's mysterious intentions still unknown, she will face whatever comes next with courage and determination. The sun had long since dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the barren wasteland. The trio trudged forward in silence, their hearts heavy with anticipation and fear. Akari clutched her pendant tightly against her chest as they ventured deeper into the ancient cave system. The walls of the caves were adorned with intricate carvings depicting battles long forgotten by time. Zephyrus scanned the images carefully, his keen eyes searching for any hints or clues that might guide them on their journey. Akari's gaze was drawn to one particular carving, a figure holding a pendant strikingly similar to her own. A sudden shiver ran through her as she reached out and traced the lines of the carving with her fingers, feeling strange energy coursing through her veins. The pendant seemed to glow faintly in response, and Akari felt an inexplicable connection to this ancient power that pulsed within her. The group came upon a vast cavern, its walls illuminated by a soft, ethereal light emanating from glowing crystals embedded within the rock. In the center of the chamber stood a massive stone pedestal, and on top of it rested a pendant identical to Akari's own. Gideon approached the pedestal cautiously, his curiosity piqued. "This must be where our journey leads us," he said, reaching out to take the pendant from its resting place. Akari's eyes widened in shock as Gideon grasped the pendant, her hand instinctively lashing out to stop him. The pendant slipped free of his grip, tumbling through the air and landing on the ground below with a hollow thud. "What are you doing?" Akari demanded, her voice shaking with anger and fear. "That pendant is mine." Gideon's eyes narrowed as he turned to face her, his voice cold and calculating. "You don't understand what this means," he replied, stepping closer to her. This power could change everything, for better or worse. Zephyrus stepped between them, his muscles tensed and ready to spring into action if needed. "Enough," he growled, glaring at Gideon. "We need to focus on our mission, not squabble over trinkets." The tension in the air was palpable as the three of them stared each other down, their hearts racing with emotion. The pendant lay forgotten on the ground, its true significance still a mystery. But one thing was certain, this journey had only just begun, and the challenges that lay ahead would test their resolve and force them to confront truths they never knew existed. The group continued deeper into the ancient cave system, their minds filled with thoughts of the pendant and the power it represented. Akari felt a strange energy pulsing through her veins, growing stronger as they ventured further. As they moved through the caves, she could feel herself changing, becoming something more than human. The journey ahead promised challenges unlike anything they'd encountered before, and Akari knew that if she was to survive, she would have to embrace this new power within her. But she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this transformation than she understood, and it was a secret someone had been keeping from her all along. Their journey took them through narrow passages and dark tunnels, where they encountered strange creatures that lurked in the shadows. Akari found herself using powers she didn't even know she possessed, powers that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. One night, as they rested, strange noises echoed through the caves. Zephyrus stood guard, his senses on high alert. A sudden attack by a pack of vicious creatures forced them to fight for their lives, and Akari demonstrated newfound abilities that left her companions awestruck. As they battled, she felt an intense connection to the power coursing through her veins, a power that seemed to grow stronger with every creature she defeated. But it was more than just brute strength. There was intelligence and cunning within her that allowed her to outmaneuver their attackers and emerge victorious. When the fighting finally ceased, Akari collapsed onto the ground, exhausted but triumphant. She looked up at Zephyrus and Gideon, her eyes shining with newfound confidence. "I didn't know I could do that," she panted, clutching her chest as her breath returned. Zephyrus approached her, his voice filled with concern. "You've changed, Akari, in ways we don't fully understand yet. He glanced at Gideon, who remained silent and watchful. "But I have faith that you will find your way, even if it means embracing this new power within you." Akari nodded weakly, feeling a strange mix of emotions. She was terrified of what she had become, but also proud of her newfound abilities. And as they continued their journey deeper into the ancient cave system, she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets awaited them, and what role she would play in the unfolding events that threatened to change everything. Their journey took them through treacherous landscapes and dark caves, each day bringing new challenges and revelations. Akari's powers continued to grow stronger, and with it came a deeper understanding of her own capabilities, as well as the potential dangers they posed to those around her. One night, as they rested, Gideon approached her, his eyes filled with a mixture of admiration and fear. "Akari," he whispered, taking a deep breath before continuing. "I've been keeping something from you, something that could change everything." Akari looked at him warily, unsure of what to expect. Gideon hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Your pendant. It wasn't just an artifact. It was a weapon, one designed to harness the power of your ancestors and use it against those who sought to destroy them." Akari's eyes widened in shock, her heart racing with a mixture of emotions. "My people, they were warriors?" she stammered, her voice barely audible. Gideon nodded gravely. "Yes, Akari, and the pendant was meant to help you reclaim your lost powers and stand against those who caused your race's downfall." Akari felt a surge of anger and determination well up within her as she stared at Gideon, her eyes blazing with fury. "Then I will use this power to make them pay," she declared, her voice filled with a newfound sense of purpose. Gideon nodded in approval, his eyes filled with pride. "I knew you would understand, Akari, and that you would rise to the challenge." As they continued their journey, Akari felt more connected than ever to the power within her. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she was determined to reclaim what was rightfully hers and exact revenge on those who had caused her people's downfall. Their adventure led them through treacherous landscapes and ancient ruins as they sought out the truth about their past and uncovered secrets that changed everything they knew about themselves. Along the way, Akari struggled with the weight of her destiny, the knowledge that she was not just a recluse, but a warrior with the power to change the course of history. Through it all, she found solace in the companionship of Zephyrus and Gideon, who stood by her side as they faced challenges unlike anything they'd ever encountered before. Together, they navigated through treacherous terrains, battled powerful beasts, and unraveled mysteries that had long been forgotten by time. But as they neared the end of their journey, Akari could feel a darkness growing within her, a hunger for power that threatened to consume her. She knew that she must find a way to control it or risk becoming a monster herself. In the climactic battle against the true antagonist, Akari faced a terrible choice: revenge or redemption. With her newfound powers and the weight of her destiny on her shoulders, she would have to make a decision that would change everything, not just for her, but for the entire world. The final episode will reveal the outcome of this battle, as Akari struggles with the consequences of her choices and learns the true nature of the enemy she faces. Through it all, she must come to terms with who she is, a warrior reborn, destined to change the course of history and reclaim what was lost. Echoes of the Forgotten Warrior. The air grows thick with tension as Akari, Zephyrus, and Gideon trudge through the barren wasteland, their path marked by the twisted remnants of once mighty structures. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the landscape. Ahead lies a crossroads, where two paths diverge. One leads to the heart of the ancient cave system, and the other disappears into the endless wasteland. Akari eyes the paths warily, her senses on high alert. "We should take the path to the caves," she says firmly, her voice echoing through the desolate landscape. She clutches the pendant tightly in her hand, feeling its power pulsating within her. Zephyrus nods. "I agree, Akari. It's time we faced what lies within those ancient halls." Gideon remains silent, his eyes scanning the horizon as he contemplates something unseen. He turns to face Akari, his gaze intense. "We must be careful, my friend," he warns her. "The path ahead is treacherous, and there are forces at work that we do not fully understand." Akari's lips curl into a determined smile. I am prepared for whatever awaits us, she replies, her eyes flashing with determination. She takes a deep breath and steps onto the path towards the caves, Zephyrus and Gideon following close behind. The air grows colder as they enter the cave system, the walls slick with moisture and the ground covered in an eerie luminescence. The trio moves cautiously through the darkness, their senses heightened as they navigate the winding tunnels. Akari's powers grow stronger with each step, her connection to the power within the pendant growing more intense by the second. Suddenly, a strange noise echoes through the cave and Akari stops in her tracks. She turns to Zephyrus and Gideon, her eyes wide with fear. What was that? She demands, her heart racing. Zephyrus scans the area, his keen senses picking up on something they had missed before. That's not natural, he mutters, his voice barely audible. I sense beasts. Gideon tenses, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. We must be careful, he warns them again, his eyes locked onto the darkness ahead. These creatures are powerful and dangerous. We must move swiftly and strike hard if we hope to survive this encounter. Akari nods, her resolve solidifying as she clutches the pendant tightly in her hand. She takes a deep breath, feeling the power coursing through her veins. She knows what she must do. The trio moves deeper into the cave, their steps silent and careful. The darkness seems to close in on them, but they remain focused, determined to uncover the truth about their past and reclaim the power needed to stand against those who caused the downfall of their race. As they round a bend and tunnel, Akari's heart leaps into her throat. Before them lies a cavern, filled with strange creatures unlike any she had ever seen. Their eyes glow with an unnatural light, and their bodies are twisted and grotesque, almost alien in appearance. Akari feels a surge of fear, but it is quickly replaced by anger and determination. She raises the pendant, feeling its power coursing through her veins, and charges into battle. The creatures roar as they see the trio approach, their eyes fixed on their new prey. The air fills with the sound of clashing steel, grunts and screams as Akari, Zephyrus, and Gideon engage in a fierce battle for survival. The darkness presses in around them, but they stand firm, determined to emerge victorious. The fight is long and brutal, but eventually the last of the creatures falls, leaving Akari, Zephyrus, and Gideon standing amidst the wreckage of the cavern. They exchange weary glances, their hearts heavy with the weight of what they had just endured. We've come a long way, Zephyrus says softly, his voice filled with awe. But our journey is far from over. Gideon nods, his eyes locked onto the darkness ahead. Indeed it is, he replies. And I have a feeling that what lies beyond this cave will test us, in ways we cannot even imagine. Akari looks down at the pendant clutched tightly in her hand, her grip tightening as she feels the power coursing through its every fiber. I'm ready for whatever comes next, she says firmly, her voice filled with determination. The group trekked through the barren wasteland, their spirits heavy, as they neared the caves where legends spoke of a hidden artifact that could answer the questions that had haunted them for lifetimes. Akari's pendant glowed in her hand, pulsing with an energy she could barely comprehend. Are you ready? Zephyrus asked, his eyes filled with concern. This will not be easy. I've come this far, Akari replied, her voice steady, but trembling slightly beneath the surface. We must find answers. Gideon gave a curt nod, keeping his thoughts to himself as they approached the entrance of the caves. The air grew cooler, and the ground beneath their feet turned from sandy dunes to smooth stone. Akari's connection to the pendant intensified, her senses alerting her to an unseen presence lurking ahead. Caution, she warned, her voice barely more than a whisper. Something's there. Zephyrus and Gideon tensed, their eyes scanning the darkness for any signs of danger. They crept forward, their senses straining to pierce the gloom. As they entered the first cave, a sudden movement caught Akari's eye, and she leapt back, her heart racing. What is that? Gideon asked, his voice filled with wonder as he stared at the strange creature before them. It resembled nothing they had ever seen before, a mixture of beast and machine, its eyes glowing like twin moons in the darkness. The creature lunged, snarling, and Akari reacted without thinking. Her hands glowed with an eerie light as she unleashed a blast of energy that sent the creature reeling back. It roared in pain, revealing rows of jagged teeth and claws sharp enough to draw blood. We must move quickly, Zephyrus said, his voice cold and hard. This thing is strong, and it will not be easy to defeat. Akari nodded, drawing on the power within her, feeling it surge through her veins like molten fire. Her muscles bulked beneath her skin as her body transformed, her senses sharpening to a razor's edge. She knew this was just the beginning of what she would become. Together they fought, their every move calculated and precise. Gideon unleashed a flurry of blows with his staff, while Zephyrus darted around the creature, striking from the shadows. Akari moved like a whirlwind, her energy blasts tearing through the creature's armor like hide. But despite their efforts, the creature was relentless. It seemed to heal with every blow they struck. Finally, Akari felt something snap within her, a connection to the pendant that had sustained her this far, but now threatened to consume her. She closed her eyes, focusing on the energy coursing through her veins, and let go. A surge of power roared through her body, shattering the cave around them as she unleashed an explosion of energy that engulfed the creature, reducing it to molten slag in an instant. Akari collapsed, her body spent as Zephyrus and Gideon rushed to her side. We must rest, Zephyrus said, helping Akari to her feet. But we cannot linger here. The artifact lies deeper within the caves and we must find it. Echoes of the forgotten warrior, their journey led them to a dark, damp cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. Gideon studied the carvings carefully, his fingers tracing the lines of each symbol as he tried to decipher their meaning. Akari and Zephyrus waited patiently, watching the sun slowly fade from the sky, casting eerie shadows across the cavern floor. These symbols are old, Gideon said, voice barely audible. Older than anything I've ever seen. He turned to face Akari, his eyes burning with an intensity that made her uneasy. It seems we're getting closer to what we seek, but be warned. This place is treacherous. Creatures dwell here that will test your courage and your strength. Zephyrus growled low in his throat, baring his teeth menacingly. Akari felt a surge of fear course through her veins, but she clung to her resolve. They had come too far to turn back now. They continued deeper into the cave, the air growing colder and more oppressive as they ventured further in. Suddenly, a strange creature sprang from the shadows, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. It stood several feet tall, a grotesque amalgamation of animal and machine parts that moved with unnatural grace. Akari felt the familiar burn of her power surging through her veins as she braced herself for battle. The creature lunged at them, its limbs whipping around like a viper's tail. She summoned a burst of energy, sending the beast flying back with a yell, but it was quick to recover, returning with renewed vigor. Gideon and Zephyrus joined in the fight, their combined efforts eventually subduing the creature. Akari felt drained, her power fading as they caught their breaths. They had won the battle, but the cost had been high. As they rested, Gideon studied the creature's remains, his eyes narrowed with determination. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "There will be more tests ahead." Akari looked around at the darkness that surrounded them, feeling the weight of her destiny pressing down on her shoulders. She knew that they had much to learn and many challenges to face before they could uncover the truth behind their extinction. But she also knew that she would not back down. Not now, not ever. Meanwhile, Gideon's true motives remain shrouded in mystery, and Zephyrus watches over them all, guiding Akari towards her ultimate goal, reclaiming their lost powers and unraveling the secrets of their extinction. As they journey deeper into the caves, a strange creature lurks in the shadows, watching patiently. Akari's footsteps echoed hollowly as she trudged through the barren wasteland, her senses heightened by the darkness that surrounded them. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant whispers of ancient winds. Her companions, Gideon and Zephyrus, walked beside her, their eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of danger. As they ventured deeper into the unknown, Akari's thoughts turned to her past, to the time before the world had become a desolate wasteland. She remembered the stories her elders told her of a great war that decimated their race, and the prophecy that spoke of one who would rise up against their oppressors and restore balance to the world. As the last remnant of her people, Akari felt the weight of that destiny upon her shoulders. But it was a burden she struggled to bear, for she knew that in order to save her people, she must first come to terms with her own past and the role she played in their downfall. The path before them led to a cave, its entrance obscured by vines and overgrowth. Akari hesitated, her heart racing as she considered the dangers that awaited them within. But she steeled herself and stepped forward, her companions following close behind. Inside the cave, they found themselves in a small chamber filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant echoes of whispers. Akari's eyes scanned the room, searching for clues as to what lay ahead. Gideon approached one particular symbol, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This mark," he said, tracing a finger over the intricate design. "I've seen it before, somewhere." Zephyrus stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the symbol as well. "It is an ancient artifact of our people," he said, his voice low and grave. "One that holds great power, but also great danger." Akari felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew that whatever lay within this cave was not meant for mortal eyes. But she couldn't turn back now, not when she was so close to uncovering the truth about her people and herself. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook violently, and a strange creature burst from the shadows. Its body was a twisted mass of flesh and bone, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. Akari's heart raced as she prepared to defend herself and her companions against this unknown enemy. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal, but in the end, they emerged victorious. The creature lay at their feet, defeated, its body twitching weakly. Akari stared down at it, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She knew that they had come closer to uncovering the truth about her people, but she also knew that there was still much more work to be done. As they continued their journey through the caves, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that something was following them. She looked over her shoulder, her heart pounding in her chest, as she scanned the shadows for any signs of movement. But whatever it was remained hidden, its presence a constant reminder of the danger that lay ahead. Their path led them to a crossroads, four paths stretching out before them like branches on a tree. Akari hesitated, her mind racing as she tried to decide which way to go. Gideon stepped forward, his eyes scanning the paths carefully. "I believe I know the way," he said, pointing towards one of the paths. Akari followed him down the path, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that whatever lay ahead would test them all, but she also knew that they had come too far to turn back now. As they ventured deeper into the caves, Akari couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She knew that danger was lurking around every corner, and she prayed that they would find what they were looking for before it was too late. But little did they know, the true test was yet to come. For in the darkest reaches of the cave system lay a hidden artifact, one that would change everything they knew about their past and their destiny. And as Akari approached it, she couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the air grew thick and heavy as they ventured deeper into the ancient cave system. The walls were lined with strange symbols that seemed to dance and writhe with each step Akari took, causing a sense of unease to settle over her. She clutched the pendant tightly in her hand, its light flickering dimly against the dark shadows that lurked in the corners of the cavern. Gideon, ever watchful, scanned their surroundings for any signs of danger, while Zephyrus remained close behind Akari, his eyes searching for whatever mysterious force followed them. The atmosphere shifted as they approached a particularly ominous chamber, the air growing colder and more oppressive. As they entered the room, Akari couldn't ignore the feeling that something was watching them, something dark and malevolent. A sudden rustling echoed through the cave, causing her heart to race in her chest. She glanced around nervously but saw nothing out of place. "We should be cautious," Gideon warned, his voice low and tense. "There may be more than one creature lurking here." Akari nodded, tightening her grip on the pendant as she stepped further into the room. The walls were lined with intricate carvings depicting scenes of struggle, destruction, and ultimately defeat. She felt a heavy sadness wash over her as she studied each image, knowing that they represented moments from her people's history, moments that had led to their extinction. "This place is haunted," Zephyrus whispered, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The spirits of those who came before us are trapped here." Akari looked up to find him staring at one particular carving, a scene of a woman holding a pendant remarkably similar to the one she now possessed. The figure in the image seemed to be battling against an otherworldly creature, its dark tendrils wrapping around her limbs and pulling her towards it. Akari felt a strange connection to the woman in the carving, a sense of kinship that was both comforting and unsettling. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from somewhere behind them, causing them all to spin around. A strange creature emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with an eerie light as it advanced towards them. The air grew thick and oppressive, the temperature dropping drastically as the beast approached. "We must defeat it," Gideon said grimly, drawing his sword. Zephyrus unsheathed his claws, ready to fight, while Akari held tight to the pendant, feeling its power surge within her. The battle was fierce and intense, the strange creature proving to be a formidable opponent. They fought with everything they had, their weapons clashing against the creature's twisted form. Akari felt herself growing weaker as she channeled more of her power into the pendant, its light growing brighter and hotter in her hand. Finally, with a mighty roar, Zephyrus lunged at the creature, his claws slicing through its hide. The beast let out a wail of pain and retreated, disappearing back into the shadows from whence it came. The air returned to normal as they caught their breaths, exhaustion washing over them. "We must press on," Gideon said firmly, glancing at the pendant in Akari's hand. "The fate of our people rests upon us." Akari nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of her destiny. She knew that their journey would only become more treacherous and dangerous as they delved deeper into the cave system, but she also felt a renewed determination to uncover the truth about her people's extinction and exact revenge on those responsible. The trio emerged from the mouth of a dark cave into a barren wasteland. The sky was painted with hues of red and orange as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape. Akari looked around, feeling a sense of unease as she took in the endless expanse before them. "What now?" Gideon asked, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "We can't stay here forever." Zephyrus, ever vigilant, sniffed the air, picking up on a faint scent. "There is another cave system to our west. Perhaps it holds more answers about your people and their extinction." Akari nodded, her resolve strengthening with each step towards the cave entrance. As they walked, she felt the weight of her destiny pressing down upon her, but she refused to let fear control her. She had come too far to turn back now. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the walls were adorned with strange symbols etched into the rock. Akari felt a chill run down her spine as she recognized some of the markings. They belonged to her people. This was their history, their stories, and their secrets. Their journey led them to a dark chamber filled with eerie shadows and strange noises echoing off the walls. In the center of the room stood a pedestal with an ancient artifact resting upon it. As Akari approached, she felt a surge of energy pulsating from the object, filling her with both excitement and dread. "What is this?" Gideon asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Zephyrus growled low in his throat, sensing something dark lurking nearby. "It appears we are not alone." A strange creature emerged from the shadows, its body twisted and grotesque. Its eyes glowed an unnatural green, and it let out a chilling screech that echoed throughout the cave. Akari felt her heart race as she braced herself for battle. The fight was intense, with the creature relentlessly attacking them. Akari called upon the powers hidden within her, channeling the energy of her people into every strike. Gideon and Zephyrus fought alongside her, their determination fueled by the knowledge that they were protecting something precious, a piece of their shared history. In the end, they emerged victorious, exhausted, but alive. As they caught their breath, Akari looked upon the artifact once more, feeling a sense of awe and wonder. She reached out, her fingers brushing against its cold surface. The carvings on the walls seemed to come alive, revealing stories that had been hidden for centuries. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, her eyes filled with determination. "We will uncover the truth about our people's extinction and bring those responsible to justice." With renewed purpose, they continued their journey deeper into the cave system, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The secrets of their past were waiting, but so was the promise of a brighter future for Akari and her companions. Little did they know, the greatest challenge still awaited them. Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the treacherous cave system stretched on for miles, a labyrinth of darkness and danger that seemed to swallow everything that entered it. Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus ventured deeper into the heart of the caves, their torches casting flickering shadows across ancient symbols etched onto the walls. The air grew thick with an eerie silence, punctuated only by the sound of their footsteps echoing through the darkness. Akari's senses were heightened as she felt the weight of her destiny pressing down on her shoulders. She clutched the pendant tightly in her hand, the last remnants of her people's power humming with energy. Gideon and Zephyrus remained by her side, their own determination unwavering as they faced whatever dangers lay ahead. As they moved deeper into the cave, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she felt a cold presence lurking in the shadows. She tried to brush off the sensation, refusing to let fear control her. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the darkness, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It was unlike any beast they had encountered before, its body twisted and contorted as if it were made of living shadows. Akari felt a surge of energy coursing through her veins as she recognized the danger the creature posed. She raised her hand, her fingers glowing with an ethereal light that mirrored the creature's own. With a roar, she unleashed a torrent of pure power, channeling it into a fierce attack that sent the creature reeling back into the darkness from which it came. Gideon and Zephyrus joined in the battle, their powers merging with Akari's to create a devastating display of force. The cave shook as they fought, the ancient symbols on the walls cracking under the strain. The creature retaliated with cunning and ferocity, dodging their attacks and striking back with deadly precision. Akari felt a deep connection to the creature, as if it were somehow tied to her own past. She struggled to push down the feelings of guilt and fear that threatened to overwhelm her, focusing instead on the battle at hand. Together, they fought until the creature was finally vanquished, its shadowy form dissipating into nothingness. As the echoes of their victory faded away, Akari felt a sense of exhaustion wash over her. She sank to her knees, the weight of her destiny bearing down on her once more, but she refused to let it break her. Instead, she stood tall, determined to continue her journey and uncover the truth about her people's extinction. Akari stood at the edge of a dark cave, feeling the cold air seep through her worn cloak. The cave mouth stretched before her like an ominous maw, and she felt the pull of something ancient within its depths. She glanced back at Gideon and Zephyrus, who exchanged a determined nod. "We must press on," Akari whispered to herself more than to them. She stepped into the cave, the darkness swallowing her whole as she lit the torch held by Zephyrus. The walls seemed to close in around them, their eyes reflecting an eerie glow. They walked for hours through twisting passages and vast chambers, the air thick with dampness and the scent of decay. As they delved deeper, Akari felt a growing unease. Something was lurking within the darkness, watching them. She could sense it, feel its presence like a dark shadow skulking at the edge of her awareness. The feeling intensified as they ventured further, until they reached a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were adorned with strange symbols etched into the stone, glinting in the torchlight. Akari felt a shiver run down her spine, sensing an ancient power emanating from the symbols. A sudden movement caught her eye, and she spun around to see a strange creature emerging from the shadows. The beast was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt a primal fear grip her heart. She channeled her people's power, unleashing a torrent of energy against the creature. The battle was fierce, with the creature retaliating cunningly. It twisted and contorted its form, darting in and out of reach. Gideon and Zephyrus fought alongside Akari, but the creature proved to be a formidable opponent. Despite the connection she felt to the creature and the feelings of guilt and fear that threatened to overwhelm her, Akari refused to give up. Finally, with one final surge of energy, she struck the creature down, its body dissolving into shadows as it died. Exhausted but determined, she and her companions continued their journey through the treacherous cave system, bracing themselves for the challenges ahead. Unresolved conflicts with the creatures they encountered and the mystery surrounding her people's extinction still loomed over them. As they ventured deeper, Akari felt a renewed sense of purpose. She would not allow herself to be consumed by fear or guilt. She had come too far, sacrificed too much to turn back now. With Gideon and Zephyrus at her side, she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the air in the cave grew thicker, the darkness pressing down on them like a living thing. Akari's heart raced as she held her torch alight, the flickering flame casting eerie shadows across their surroundings. The ancient symbols that had guided them so far were now becoming more erratic and cryptic, leaving her questioning whether they were truly on the right path. Gideon's eyes darted back and forth between the carvings and the cave walls, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I believe we are close," he said, his voice barely audible over the sound of their heavy breathing. Zephyrus growled lowly, sensing danger lurking just beyond sight. "We should be cautious," he warned, his eyes narrowing as if sensing something unseen. Akari's palms began to sweat as she felt the weight of her destiny bearing down on her shoulders. She tried to push away thoughts of loneliness and doubt, focusing instead on the task at hand. The last remnants of her people's power coursed through her veins, a constant reminder of all that was lost. The cave suddenly fell silent, the only sound the soft crackling of their torch. Akari's heart leapt into her throat as a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and changing like liquid mercury. Its eyes burned with malice, fixing on Akari as it hissed menacingly. Gideon drew his weapon, his movements swift and fluid as he took up position beside Akari. Zephyrus stood tall and proud, ready to defend them against this new threat. The creature lunged at them, its body twisting and contorting in ways that defied logic. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. Akari's heart raced as she summoned the last of her people's power, feeling the energy surge through her veins like molten lava. She raised her arms, unleashing a wave of energy that sent the creature reeling back into the darkness from which it came. The cave remained silent for several moments before they dared to move again. As they pressed deeper into the cave system, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something was following them. The weight of her destiny felt heavier than ever, and she wondered if she would ever truly find the answers she sought. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but Akari knew she could not turn back now. She took a deep breath, letting the last remnants of her people's power courses through her veins once more. She steeled herself for whatever challenges lay before them, determined to uncover the truth and reclaim her rightful place among her people. As they continued on their treacherous path, Akari couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The strange creatures, the cryptic carvings, and the ever-present feeling that something was watching them all added to the tension. She clung to Gideon and Zephyrus, grateful for their companionship as they ventured deeper into the unknown. The darkness pressed in around them, a physical presence that seemed to weigh heavily on their shoulders. Akari's heart raced as she struggled to maintain control over her newfound powers, feeling both empowered and vulnerable at the same time. The weight of her destiny was almost too much to bear, but she refused to let it break her. They came upon a fork in the cave, two paths leading off into darkness. Akari stared at them for several long moments, unsure which way to go. Gideon stepped forward, his eyes scanning the carvings on the walls. "I believe we should take this path," he said, pointing towards one of the tunnels. Zephyrus growled lowly, his eyes narrowing as if sensing danger in the other tunnel. Akari hesitated for a moment before finally nodding, trusting Gideon's judgment. They pressed on, leaving the crossroads behind them as they ventured deeper into the cave system. As they moved further along the path, the walls began to close in around them, the air growing colder and darker. Akari could feel a sense of unease settling over her, like an oppressive weight pressing down on her shoulders. She tried to shake it off, telling herself that fear was not an option if they were to survive. They reached a large cavern, the walls covered in strange symbols, unlike any they had seen before. The air grew thick with tension as they stood at the edge of the cavern, unsure what lay beyond the darkness. Akari's heart raced as she felt the power surging through her veins once more. She knew that whatever was waiting for them, they would face it together. Gideon stepped forward cautiously, his eyes scanning the symbols on the walls. "This is an ancient artifact of our people," he said in awe, his voice barely audible over the sound of their heavy breathing. Akari's heart leapt into her throat as she felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. It was a reminder of all that had been lost, of the lives that had been taken and the world that had been left behind. They ventured deeper into the cavern, the walls closing in around them like a suffocating embrace. Akari could feel the weight of her past bearing down on her, the memories of her people's destruction haunting her every thought. She tried to push it away, focusing instead on the present and the task at hand. As they moved further into the cavern, a strange creature emerged from the darkness, its form shifting and contorting in ways that defied logic. Its eyes burned with malice as it hissed menacingly, lunging towards them with predatory grace. Akari's heart raced as she summoned the last of her peoples once more, feeling the energy surge through her veins like molten lava. She raised her arms, unleashing a wave of energy that sent the creature reeling back into the darkness from which it came. The cavern remained silent for several moments before they dared to move again. Akari could feel a sense of unease still lingering in the air, like an oppressive weight that refused to lift. She knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but she refused to let fear hold her back any longer. They continued on their journey, determined to uncover the truth about their extinction and reclaim their rightful place among their people. The darkness pressed in around them, a constant reminder of all they had lost, but Akari clung to hope, knowing that she was not alone. With Gideon and Zephyrus by her side, she knew that she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey would be long and arduous, but Akari was determined to see it through. She took a deep breath, letting the last remnants of her people's power courses through her veins once more. She steeled herself for whatever challenges lay before them, knowing that she had a destiny to fulfill. And with the help of her companions, she would not let fear or doubt stand in her way. The treacherous cave system seemed to stretch on forever, its darkness swallowing everything in sight. The air was thick and damp, the walls lined with ancient symbols that seemed to guide Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus deeper into this mysterious labyrinth. As they journeyed through the twisting tunnels, the strange creatures that lurked within attacked without warning. A sudden shift in shadows revealed one such creature, a writhing mass of living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice as it stared at them, its form shifting and changing like liquid. Akari's heart raced. She gripped her torch tightly, the flickering light barely illuminating the creature before it lunged at them. The beast was unlike anything she had ever encountered before, and fear gripped her as she realized they were outmatched. But she refused to back down. This was a journey she could not abandon. Gideon stood beside her, his eyes never leaving the creature. He seemed unafraid, a sense of calm emanating from him. Akari noticed that he had a hidden artifact clutched in his hand, its purpose unknown to her. Zephyrus, too, stood guard, his powerful form ready to defend them at a moment's notice. With a battle cry, the creature lunged, its form shifting into something even more terrifying. Akari swung her torch wildly, catching it off guard. The torch went flying, leaving them in darkness. The beast roared, its eyes glowing as it advanced upon them. Gideon stepped forward, his hidden artifact glinting in the dim light. As he held it aloft, a surge of energy erupted from it, enveloping the creature and banishing it back into the darkness. Akari stared at him in awe. "What was that?" she asked, her voice shaking. Gideon's gaze remained fixed on the empty space where the creature had been. "An artifact of our people," he replied softly. "Their power to combat these strange creatures." Zephyrus approached them, a sense of relief washing over him. "We must press on," he said firmly. "This cave system hides many secrets, and we have come too far to turn back now." Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the air grew colder as they entered a dark cave, dampness clinging to every surface. The walls were adorned with strange symbols that seemed to dance before them, flickering in the dim light of Gideon's torch. Akari felt uneasy, her heart pounding in her chest as she scanned the room for any signs of movement. "Take care," Zephyrus whispered, his eyes darting between the symbols and the shadows that hid within them. "I sense something, it feels familiar." Gideon nodded, a determined glint in his eye. He held the pendant aloft, its glow casting eerie patterns on the walls as he studied the symbols. After several tense moments, he spoke. "These markings, I have seen their like before. They are remnants of an ancient artifact that may hold the answers we seek." Akari's heart leapt at his words, and she felt a renewed sense of hope. "Then we must find it," she declared, her voice barely audible in the cavernous silence. As they ventured further into the cave, their path was fraught with peril. They stumbled upon a strange creature that lurked within the shadows, its eyes burning with malice as it emerged to attack them. Akari fought fiercely, summoning the last remnants of her people's power to drive the creature back. Zephyrus roared in anger and joined her in battle, his claws slashing through the air like razors. Gideon, ever the tactician, found an opening and used his artifact to banish the creature once more, its shrieks echoing through the cave as it retreated into the darkness. Akari looked at him with newfound awe, her heart racing as she struggled to process the power that lay within this stranger's grasp. "We must press on," Zephyrus said, his voice heavy with determination. "We are close now." The group continued their journey, their resolve unbroken despite the challenges they faced. As they ventured deeper into the cave system, Akari couldn't help but feel a strange sense of belonging. It was as if these caves were calling to her, whispering tales of her people's past and beckoning her closer. Their journey brought them to a crossroads, 3 paths stretching out before them like the branches of a tree. Zephyrus looked at Akari with a solemn expression, his eyes filled with wisdom. "Choose wisely, child," he said softly. "Each path holds its own dangers, and the fate of our people rests upon your shoulders." Akari stood at the crossroads, her mind racing as she weighed her choices. She felt a tugging in her heart, a strange pull that seemed to come from one of the paths. With a deep breath, she chose the middle path and led her companions forward. The journey grew increasingly treacherous as they descended deeper into the cave system. They encountered more strange creatures and faced new challenges, but Akari's resolve remained unbroken. She could feel the power within her growing stronger with each step, and she knew that she was drawing closer to the truth about her people's extinction. Their journey took a dark turn when they stumbled upon an ancient artifact, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Akari felt a surge of power as she touched it, but it was quickly followed by a wave of dizziness and pain. Gideon caught her before she fell, his eyes wide with concern. "What is happening to me?" Akari gasped, clutching her head as the pain subsided. Zephyrus stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the artifact. That is an artifact of our people," he said softly. "It holds great power, but it also holds a terrible secret." Akari stared at the artifact, her heart pounding in her chest as she struggled to comprehend what this meant. She felt a strange mix of emotions, fear, anger, and determination all swirling within her. She knew that she had to uncover the truth about her people's extinction, no matter the cost. "We must take it," Akari declared, her voice steady despite the turmoil within her. "It is our only hope for answers." As they left the cave, Akari couldn't help but feel a strange sense of dread. She could see the darkness that lay ahead, and she knew that their journey was far from over. But she also felt a renewed sense of purpose, a burning desire to uncover the truth about her people and bring justice for their extinction. The sun had begun to set as they exited the cave, casting long shadows across the barren wasteland. Akari looked out at the desolate landscape, her heart heavy with the weight of her destiny. She knew that she would never be truly at peace until she had avenged her people and uncovered the truth about their extinction. Akari and her companions trudged through the damp darkness of the ancient cave system, torches flickering on the strange symbols etched onto the walls. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper, the shadows twisting and dancing in their torchlight. A low rumble echoed through the passageways, causing Gideon to tense up. "I don't like this," he muttered, his voice barely audible. "Something feels off." Zephyrus, his eyes glowing faintly in the gloom, scanned their surroundings. "We should be cautious. The spirits of these caves can be unpredictable." Akari's heart pounded in her chest as they pressed onward. She clutched the pendant tightly, feeling its energy pulsing with anticipation. A sudden shift in the shadows ahead caught their attention. A strange creature emerged from the darkness, its form twisting and changing like living nightmares. Akari's eyes widened as it approached them. Its eyes burned with malice, and she could feel an unnatural power emanating from it. The others drew their weapons, ready to defend against the creature's attack. The battle was fierce, the creature's twisted form shifting and adapting to their attacks. Akari felt the weight of her destiny pressing down on her as she fought, her every blow resonating with a deep, primal energy. At last, they defeated it, but the victory left an uneasy feeling in their hearts. "We must move on," Akari said, forcing herself to sound confident despite her trembling voice. "There's more ahead that we need to face." As they continued through the treacherous cave system, they found themselves at a crossroads. Ahead lay a dark, damp cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. Akari felt an inexplicable pull toward it, her heart racing as she hesitated. "This is where we part ways," Gideon said, his voice heavy with unspoken secrets. "I've led you as far as I can." Akari looked at him, a mix of gratitude and sadness in her eyes. "Thank you for your help. I couldn't have made it this far without you." "You don't need me anymore," Gideon said with a forced smile. "Zephyrus will guide you the rest of the way." With a final nod to each other, Akari and Zephyrus ventured into the dark cave, leaving Gideon behind. As they delved deeper into the unknown, Akari felt a sense of unease growing within her. She knew that whatever lay ahead would test them all, but she was determined to face it head-on. Echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari, Zephyrus, and Gideon made their way through a dark cave, the shadows playing tricks on their minds. Akari felt a strange sense of familiarity as they approached the cave, a feeling she couldn't quite place. The air grew colder and heavier, an oppressive weight bearing down on them all. As they continued deeper into the darkness, Zephyrus suddenly stopped, his eyes fixed on something in the distance. "Wait," he whispered, "I sense something. Something dangerous." Gideon looked around nervously. "We should move quickly. The cave is treacherous, and who knows what lurks within." Ignoring Gideon's words, Akari took a step closer to the strange symbols etched onto the walls. Her heart raced as she reached out to touch one of them, feeling a surge of energy coursing through her body. "I know this place," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows. Its twisted form shifted and contorted, revealing a monstrous beast that resembled none they had ever seen before. It hissed at them, its eyes burning with malice. Akari felt an overwhelming urge to run but instead stood her ground, feeling a primal power surging within her. "This is our home," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "We will not be driven out any longer." The creature lunged at them, its claws slashing through the air as it closed the distance between them. Akari raised her arms, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. A surge of power coursed through her body, and she felt herself changing in ways she could not understand. Zephyrus roared, charging at the creature with all his might. With a swift strike of his claws, he sent it flying back into the darkness from which it came. But the beast wasn't defeated. It retreated, biding its time before launching another attack. Gideon watched the battle unfold, his eyes filled with worry. He had seen creatures like this before, and he knew they were no match for them alone. "We need to leave," he said urgently, but Akari shook her head. "No," she replied, her voice echoing through the cave. "This is a test. We must face our fears and overcome this creature if we are to continue on our journey." As they battled the strange beast, Akari felt her powers growing stronger with each passing moment. She could feel the weight of her destiny bearing down on her, and she knew that she was meant for something greater than mere survival. The battle raged on, their attacks and defenses clashing in a symphony of violence and power. With each strike, Akari felt herself changing, evolving into a being unlike anything they had ever seen before. The creature, sensing the change within her, lunged at her with renewed vigor. As it attacked, Akari summoned all her strength and focused it into a single blast of energy. She struck the creature with such force that it was sent flying back into the darkness from which it came, never be seen again. Akari stood panting, feeling exhausted but triumphant. She had faced her fears and emerged victorious, and she knew that this was only the beginning. Zephyrus looked at Akari with admiration in his eyes. "You have changed," he said, his voice filled with awe. "You are becoming something more." Akari smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced her fears and embraced the power within her. And she knew that there was still much to learn about herself and her people's past. With renewed determination, Akari and Zephyrus continued on their journey, following the mysterious symbols deeper into the cave system. They knew that the path ahead would be filled with challenges and dangers, but they were ready to face whatever lay before them. And as they delved deeper into the darkness, they knew that they were not alone. In the dark, damp cave, Akari felt her heart race as she stared at the strange symbols etched onto the walls. Her eyes traced the lines and swirls, feeling a strange energy pulse through her veins. "What is this place?" Zephyrus asked, his voice echoing off the stone walls. Gideon's words rang in Akari's ears. "The truth of your people lies within these ancient ruins." Akari took a deep breath, feeling her power surge as she stepped into the cave. The darkness seemed to swallow them whole. But Akari felt a pull she couldn't ignore. As they ventured deeper, Zephyrus noticed a faint glow emanating from one of the walls. He pointed it out to Akari, who approached cautiously. The light grew brighter as she neared, revealing an ancient artifact resting on a pedestal. Akari felt her heart race as she saw it, a pendant that bore the markings of their people. "What is this?" Akari asked, reaching out to touch the artifact. The pendant pulsed in response, its energy resonating with hers. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice. "Akari!" Zephyrus shouted, charging towards the creature. But Akari knew she had to face this alone. She was the last of her kind. She focused on the pendant, feeling its energy flow through her, amplifying her powers. The creature lunged at her, and Akari met it with a blast of energy that sent it reeling back. She fought fiercely, using every ounce of her strength to defend herself and the artifact. Despite the creature's power, she felt an unyielding determination burning within her. She would not let this be the end for her people. After a brutal battle, Akari emerged victorious. She collapsed onto the ground, panting heavily as Zephyrus rushed to her side. The cave fell silent except for their labored breathing. "You're incredible," Zephyrus whispered, helping Akari to her feet. "Your power has grown even stronger." Echoes of the forgotten warrior. The cave pulsed with an eerie glow as Akari and Gideon trudged deeper into the treacherous labyrinth. The weight of the pendant hung heavy in her hands, its power radiating through her veins. As they ventured onward, strange creatures lurked in the shadows, watching them with malevolent eyes. Gideon's voice echoed softly through the darkness. "The deeper we go, the more dangerous it becomes." Akari tightened her grip on the pendant and stepped forward. The cave walls were adorned with strange symbols, a language she couldn't decipher but sensed resonated within her soul. Her heart raced as they descended into the depths of the ancient cave system. Suddenly, something moved in the darkness ahead. A shape began to take form, a creature unlike anything she had ever seen before. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice. "Prepare yourself," Gideon warned, drawing his sword. Akari braced herself for battle, feeling the power of the pendant surging through her veins. The strange creature lunged at them, its dark energy crackling in the air. Akari swung the pendant with all her might, unleashing a surge of energy that sent the creature reeling back. She felt a connection to it. This was one of their own kind, twisted and corrupted by some unknown force. But she couldn't let fear hold her back. This was her journey, and she would not falter now. The battle was fierce, each blow sending shockwaves through the cave walls. Akari dodged and countered with precision, her movements fluid and graceful as if guided by some unseen force. The creature retaliated with a vengeance, its body contorting into grotesque forms that seemed almost impossible to defeat. But Akari refused to let it best her. With every strike, she felt the power of her people coursing through her veins. She tasted the sweet taste of victory as the creature crumbled before her. As they caught their breaths, Gideon approached the fallen creature cautiously. "This is not one of ours," he said, examining the remains. It was twisted and corrupted by some dark force. "We must be careful." Akari nodded, feeling a strange sense of sadness wash over her. This creature was once like her, a member of their race. But now it was nothing more than a twisted remnant of what they had become. She vowed to find out what happened and stop it from happening again. Akari's eyes flickered with determination as she stared at the strange symbols etched onto the walls of the dark, damp cave. Gideon stood behind her, watching as Akari traced her fingers along the ancient markings, seeking answers. The air grew colder, and an ominous sense of foreboding settled over them both. Zephyrus appeared, his eyes filled with concern. "Akari, we should be cautious," he warned. "The energy in this cave is unlike anything I've ever felt. We must find out what happened to our people," Akari replied, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "I won't rest until I have answers." As they ventured deeper into the treacherous cave system, strange noises echoed through the darkness. An eerie feeling washed over them, a sense of impending danger that sent chills down their spines. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and changing as it moved towards them. Akari raised her pendant, channeling its power into her body. The beast howled in response, its eyes burning with malice. Gideon stepped forward, ready to defend Akari. But it was Zephyrus who attacked first, his claws slashing out at the creature. The battle was fierce and brutal, the strange creature twisting and contorting as it fought back against them. Akari's pendant flickered with energy, its power straining under the assault. She channeled her own strength into the artifact, forcing it to grow brighter and stronger. Finally, after what felt like hours, the strange creature collapsed, defeated. Exhausted, they took a moment to catch their breath. Akari stared at the lifeless form, her heart heavy with sorrow. "What is happening to our people?" she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Gideon wrapped his arm around her shoulders, offering comfort. "We'll find out," he promised. "But we must be careful. Something powerful is at work here." Akari nodded, wiping away her tears. "I know," she said, determination burning in her eyes. "We have to keep moving forward." As they continued their journey through the cave system, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that the true enemy was far more dangerous than anything they had encountered so far. But she refused to give up. Her people deserved answers, and she would find them no matter what it took. The treacherous cave system seemed to stretch on forever, each turn revealing new challenges and dangers. But Akari pressed forward, driven by a burning desire for truth and vengeance. And as they ventured deeper into the darkness, the whispers of her people's agony grew louder, urging her onward. "We have to keep going," she whispered, gripping the pendant tightly in her hand. "For our people." Echoes of forgotten warrior Akari, Gideon and Zephyrus ventured deeper into the labyrinthine cave system, their torches flickering weakly as they made their way through the damp, musty air. The walls were etched with strange symbols that seemed to shift in the dim light. "Do you think these markings hold the key to our people's extinction?" Akari asked, her voice echoing off the stone. Zephyrus shook his head. "I cannot be sure. We must find the artifact we seek and hope it provides answers." As they walked, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting like liquid darkness. Its eyes burned with malice as it stared at them. Gideon pulled out a torch, igniting it quickly. "Stay close," he whispered. The beast lunged forward, slashing at Gideon with razor-sharp claws. Akari channeled the pendant's power into her hands, and a bolt of energy shot forth, striking the creature. It screamed in pain as it fell to the ground, twitching for several moments before silence filled the cave once more. "We must press on," Zephyrus said, his voice heavy with sadness. "This is not the first creature we have encountered, and it will not be the last." Akari's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the fallen beast. "I don't understand. Why are they attacking us?" Gideon placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We are intruders in their territory. Perhaps they sense our power and feel threatened." As they continued through the cave, Akari felt an odd connection with the strange creatures that opposed them. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not simply beasts, but something more. This thought nagged at her as she struggled to cope with the weight of her destiny, the burden of being the last remnant of her race. What if we are meant to rule over these creatures? Akari mused aloud, her voice barely audible. What if our extinction was not natural, but a result of our own arrogance and power? Gideon looked at her with a frown. "We do not know the truth yet, Akari. Let us focus on finding the artifact and uncovering the secrets it holds." The cave opened up into a vast chamber, filled with more symbols etched onto the walls. In the center stood an ancient artifact that seemed to pulse with energy. Akari's heart raced as she approached it, her hands trembling. "We have found it," Gideon said, his voice awed. "The artifact of our people." As they reached out to touch the artifact, a sudden rumble shook the cave, and a strange creature burst forth from the shadows. It was larger than any they had faced before, its eyes burning with malice as it attacked them without warning. Akari felt the pendant's power surge through her veins as she fought to protect herself and her companions. The battle raged on, the cave shaking with each blow. Akari's connection to the strange creature grew stronger, and she began to understand that they were more than mere beasts. They were beings born of the same essence as her people, twisted by the darkness that had consumed them centuries ago. Finally, the battle ended, and they stood victorious amidst the wreckage. Akari looked at the artifact, her heart heavy with sadness and regret. She knew now that their extinction was not a natural event, but a consequence of their own actions. The weight of this knowledge threatened to crush her, and she sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she wept for what could have been. "We must continue," Gideon said gently, helping Akari up. "The truth is here, waiting to be uncovered." As Akari and her companions stood before the ancient artifact, its ethereal glow pulsed in response to her touch. The air grew thick with anticipation as they sensed a shift in the energy surrounding them. Suddenly, the cave shuddered and a deep rumbling echoed through the chamber. "What is happening?" Akari asked, gripping the pendant tightly. Zephyrus, his eyes wide with concern, stepped forward to shield Akari from any potential danger. "I do not know, but it seems we have awakened something." Gideon scanned their surroundings, searching for an exit or a way to protect themselves. "We must find shelter. Move," Kari nodded, her resolve hardening. They sprinted through the dark cave system, dodging falling rocks and debris as the ground shook violently around them. The strange creature that had haunted their journey appeared behind them, its eyes burning with anger. It lunged at Akari, but she managed to dodge, sending a burst of energy towards it. The beast recoiled, howling in pain. "Quickly!" Gideon shouted, leading the group deeper into the cave system. "We must find a place to regroup and plan our next move." The cave opened up into a vast cavern, filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. Gideon lit a torch, revealing the ominous carvings. Akari felt a sudden chill as she read them aloud, echoes of the forgotten warrior. "Return to your roots, embrace the darkness within." "What does this mean?" Zephyrus asked, his voice trembling. Akari closed her eyes, feeling a strange connection to the symbols. She opened her eyes and looked at her companions. "I think it's telling us something about our people, something that might explain our extinction." Gideon approached one of the carvings, studying it closely. "This symbol is familiar. I believe it represents our race." He ran a finger over an intricate pattern, and the torch flickered, revealing a hidden compartment behind the carving. Inside lay another artifact. Akari reached out to take it, but Zephyrus stopped her. "Are you sure we should do this?" "This could change everything." Gideon nodded. "I believe it's worth the risk." With a sense of trepidation, Akari took the artifact and felt a surge of power coursing through her body. The cave shuddered once more as the strange creature roared in protest. Akari turned to face it, feeling a strange connection to the beast. "I think this is what we've been searching for." Zephyrus stepped up beside her. "We cannot let our past define us. We must find a way to overcome this and reclaim our destiny." Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the ground shook beneath their feet as they ran deeper into the cave system, pursued by a monstrous creature that seemed to feed off their fear. Akari clutched her pendant tightly, feeling its power coursing through her veins. She could hear the beast's growls echoing through the dark tunnels, drawing ever closer. "We need to find shelter," Gideon called out, his voice trembling. "I think it's getting stronger." Zephyrus took point, leading them deeper into the labyrinthine passageways. The walls were adorned with strange symbols that Akari had started to recognize as a language of her people. As they ran, she could feel the weight of their history pressing down on her, suffocating her with guilt and sorrow. "What do these symbols mean?" Akari asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why did we let this happen to us?" Gideon looked at her sympathetically. "We don't know yet, but I believe the answers are in here somewhere." Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath them, and they tumbled into darkness. Akari screamed as she felt cold water splash against her face. They had fallen into a large subterranean lake, and the strange creature was already upon them. Its eyes burned with malice, reflecting the dim light from their torches. Zephyrus fought fiercely, his claws slashing at the creature's unnatural flesh. Gideon and Akari followed suit, channeling every ounce of strength they had into striking back against the beast. The air around them crackled with energy as they battled, the scent of ozone filling their nostrils. The creature roared, its form shifting and changing as it attacked. Akari felt a strange connection to it, as if they were two sides of the same coin. She could sense its pain, its anger, and its fear. It was a being that had been trapped in this cave for centuries, feeding on the energy of those who dared to enter. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they managed to land the killing blow. The creature let out a final, mournful howl before disappearing into nothingness. Akari sank to her knees, her body shaking with exhaustion and emotion. "We did it," Zephyrus said, helping her up. "But we can't rest here." Gideon nodded in agreement. "Let's find a place where we can regroup and plan our next move." As they continued their journey, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced over her shoulder, seeing strange symbols etched onto the walls of the cave. They seemed to be whispering secrets to her, secrets that she was only beginning to understand. She reached out and touched one of the symbols, feeling a surge of power coursing through her veins. Something inside her stirred, awakening a part of herself that had been dormant for centuries. "What is happening to me?" Akari asked, her voice trembling with fear. Zephyrus looked at her with concern. "I don't know, but I think it might be the key to understanding our people's extinction." As they delved deeper into the cave system, Akari felt a growing sense of unease. The symbols seemed to be calling out to her, drawing her further and further into their mysterious world. She could feel the weight of her destiny pressing down on her, threatening to consume her whole. The air grew colder and the shadows in the labyrinthine cave deepened, casting eerie patterns on the walls etched with strange symbols. The group's torches flickered, struggling against the darkness that seemed to surround them. Akari gripped her pendant tightly, feeling its power pulsating within her. Gideon whispered, "We should rest for the night, Kari. It looks like we are entering a new part of this cave system." Zephyrus growled lowly, his eyes fixed on the strange symbols that seemed to glimmer in the dim light. "I concur. We need our strength if we are going to continue on this path." Akari closed her eyes, feeling the weight of her people's extinction bearing down on her shoulders. She sighed heavily and nodded. "We should find a suitable place for rest before darkness falls completely." The group ventured deeper into the cave, their footsteps echoing eerily off the damp walls. Suddenly, the ground gave beneath Gideon, sending him tumbling into the darkness below. A low growl sounded from the depths and Akari tensed. She sensed something stirring, something ancient and malevolent. "Gideon," she cried out, straining to hear any sound of his struggling. "Zephyrus. Help him." Zephyrus leaped into action, using his powerful limbs to navigate the treacherous terrain and reach Gideon. He found him tangled in a nest of strange vines that writhed and twitched like living tendrils. The vines recoiled at Zephyrus' approach, but he fought through them with surprising ease. Akari heard the commotion and rushed to join them, her heart pounding in her chest. Gideon was struggling against something, his eyes wide with fear. "There is something down here, something terrible." His voice trembled as he spoke. "We must find a way out of this place," Akari said, her grip on her pendant tightening. She could feel the power within it swelling, ready to unleash itself at a moment's notice. Zephyrus growled, his eyes fixed on the shadows that danced around them. "We cannot leave without discovering what lies here," he said, his voice low and menacing. "There is something important down here." Akari hesitated, feeling torn between her desire to escape the darkness and her curiosity about their people's past. She sighed deeply, her eyes scanning the strange symbols that adorned the walls around them. "Very well," she said reluctantly. "We will proceed, but we must be careful." The group continued deeper into the cave, their senses heightened as they searched for any sign of danger. Akari felt a growing unease in her chest, as if something was watching them from the shadows. She could feel the power within her pendant humming softly, urging her to unleash it upon whatever lurked in the darkness. The cave opened up into a large chamber, its walls covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with an eerie light. In the center of the room stood a massive stone altar, and atop it lay another artifact, shimmering with an otherworldly energy. A low growl echoed from behind them as they approached the altar, and Akari felt her heart skip a beat. "Be careful," Zephyrus warned, his claws flexing menacingly. "There may be something dangerous here." Akari stepped up to the altar, her eyes fixed on the artifact before her. She could feel the power within it, calling out to her like a siren's song. Her hand trembled as she reached out to touch it, and a low growl sounded from behind them once more. She whirled around, her eyes wide with fear, as she saw the strange creature that had been stalking them emerge from the shadows. It was larger than anything they had ever encountered before, its twisted form shifting and changing like living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice, and it bared its razor-sharp teeth as it advanced on them. Akari felt the power within her pendant surge, and she knew that she could not run. She stood tall, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed and prepared to face the creature head-on. The group formed a defensive circle around her, their eyes locked onto the beast as it circled them, growling menacingly. The battle was fierce, with the group fighting tooth and nail against the strange creature's onslaught. Akari felt herself changing, her body morphing to match the power she was unleashing, her senses heightening as she fought with every ounce of strength she possessed. The creature was relentless, but Akari refused to yield, determined to protect her friends and uncover the secrets of her people's past. In the end, it was Akari who emerged victorious, her body battered and bruised but still standing. She felt a strange sense of calm wash over her as she looked upon the defeated creature. She could feel the power within her, surging through her veins like liquid fire. She had changed, evolved in some way that she did not yet understand. "We must leave this place," Akari said, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "We have learned much, but there is still so much more to discover." The group nodded, their eyes filled with a renewed sense of determination. They knew that the journey would only grow harder from here, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they retreated deeper into the cave system, Akari felt a strange connection to this dark and mysterious place, as if it held the answers they sought. "We will find the truth about our people's extinction," she vowed, her eyes fixed on the distant light of the torches that flickered ahead of them. "And we will not rest until we have brought those responsible to justice." Echo of the Forgotten Warrior. The group continued their journey through the labyrinthine caves, their lanterns flickering in the darkness. Akari could feel the weight of the artifact pressed against her chest, its ethereal glow pulsating with each beat of her heart. Gideon and Zephyrus followed closely behind, watching as she navigated the treacherous terrain. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows ahead of them, its form shifting and twisting like living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice, and it seemed to move with an unnatural grace that sent shivers down Akari's spine. The group stood frozen for a moment, their hearts racing as they took in the sight before them. Akari stepped forward, her hand gripping the pendant tighter. She felt a surge of power coursing through her veins, and she knew that she would not back down from this creature. With a roar, she charged at it, her eyes blazing with determination. The battle was fierce and brutal, each side landing heavy blows. Akari's newfound strength allowed her to hold her own against the strange creature, but she could sense that it too had power beyond their understanding. As they fought, the cave around them shook violently, sending rocks cascading down from the ceiling. Zephyrus and Gideon watched in awe as Akari battled the creature with a ferocity they had never seen before. They knew that she was evolving, becoming something more than human, but they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease about this new power. With a final powerful blow, Akari struck the creature down. It let out a wail that echoed through the cave, and then lay still. The group caught their breath, their hearts pounding in their chests as they stared at the fallen beast. As they continued on their journey, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing inside of her. She could feel the dormant part of herself stirring, and she knew that it would not be long before it fully awakened. But for now, she pushed the thoughts aside and focused on finding the truth about their people's extinction. In the days that followed, the group encountered more strange creatures and faced new challenges as they delved deeper into the cave system. Akari could feel her powers growing stronger with each battle, but she couldn't ignore the feeling that this newfound strength was altering her in ways she didn't yet understand. As they reached a crossroads, Gideon spoke up. "We must take a moment to rest," he said, his voice heavy with concern. "You have grown powerful since we first met, but I fear that this power comes at a cost. We should consider what we are becoming." Akari looked at him, her eyes hard and resolute. "I will not let our people's extinction be in vain," she said. "I will do whatever it takes to bring those responsible to justice and reclaim our place among the living." As the group ventured deeper into the labyrinthine caves, the walls began to glow with strange symbols etched onto them. Akari felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through her veins as she drew closer to each symbol. Her heart raced, and an ethereal pendant shimmered around her neck, pulsating with a faint light. Gideon looked at the symbols curiously, but remained silent, his eyes filled with apprehension. Zephyrus growled softly, his gaze fixed on the cave's entrance as if sensing something was amiss. "I feel different," Akari said nervously, her voice barely above a whisper. "The power surging through me is unlike anything I've ever felt before." Gideon placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring despite his own concerns. "We can't dwell on it now," he said determinedly. "We must press on and find the answers we seek." They continued their journey deeper into the caves, following the glowing symbols that seemed to guide them like a beacon in the darkness. As they ventured further, the air grew colder, and strange noises echoed through the cave system. The group tensed, ready for whatever lurked ahead. Suddenly, a strange creature burst forth from the shadows, its form shifting and twisting as it moved towards them. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt her heart race at the sight of it. She took a step back, clutching the pendant tightly in her hand. "We must fight," Gideon called out, drawing his sword. Zephyrus growled, his muscles tensing as he prepared for battle. The creature lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air as it attacked. Akari felt a surge of power coursing through her veins, and she charged the creature, her eyes narrowing in determination. The battle was fierce, but ultimately, Akari emerged victorious. She stood over the defeated creature, panting heavily as she surveyed the carnage around her. Gideon approached her cautiously, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "What have you become?" he whispered, staring at her in disbelief. Akari felt a wave of unease wash over her as she looked down at the creature's remains. She had never felt such power before, but it came at a cost she was only beginning to understand. The pendant pulsated around her neck, its light growing brighter with each passing moment. "I don't know," she said softly, "but I will use this power to bring justice for our people." Echoes of Forgotten Warrior, the group trudged through yet another barren wasteland, the sun a blinding orb in the sky above. The landscape stretched out for miles around them, seemingly endless and devoid of life. The caves they had passed through provided little relief from the oppressive heat, but the dangers within were far more treacherous than any storm or wild beast. Akari clutched her pendant tightly in her hand as she walked, the ethereal glow illuminating the dark wasteland before them. She felt a connection to it, a bond that stretched back to the days of her ancestors. Held memories of their triumphs and tragedies, their stories etched into its very essence. Zephyrus watched her from the corner of his eye, concern etched across his features. "Akari," he began, "we must rest soon." Gideon snorted in disagreement. "There's no time for rest. We need to find the source of these caves and uncover the secrets they hold. But we cannot continue at this pace," Zephyrus persisted. "We will not survive much longer without proper sustenance or rest." Akari agreed with Zephyrus, her eyes growing heavy as they walked. She felt the weight of their journey pressing down on her shoulders, and she knew that if they did not find a way to replenish themselves soon, it would be the end for all three of them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they came upon a dark cave system, nestled between two rocky outcroppings. The entrance was small, but the interior seemed vast and endless, with strange symbols etched onto the walls that shimmered faintly in the fading light. Akari felt her heart quicken as she approached, her senses alert to any danger lurking within. The group entered cautiously, the torch Gideon carried casting long, flickering shadows across the cave's interior. The symbols seemed to dance before their eyes as they moved, a hypnotic pattern that Akari couldn't look away from. They continued deeper into the cave, the air growing colder and damper with each step. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows ahead of them. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt her blood run cold at the sight of it. She knew that this creature was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. The group tensed, readying themselves for battle. Zephyrus raised his paw, and a fierce wind surged forth from him, blowing the creature back against the cave wall. It snarled and hissed, its form contorting as it tried to regain its balance. Akari felt her own power surge within her, a primal energy that seemed to respond to the creature's presence. She raised her hands and a bolt of lightning struck the creature, sending it flying across the cave. It hit the wall with a sickening crunch, leaving a charred mark behind. The group stared at each other in shock, their hearts pounding in their chests. They had never seen Akari display such power before, and they knew that whatever she had become, it was far beyond anything human. Zephyrus approached the creature cautiously, bending down to examine it. "It appears different," he said slowly. "I have never encountered a creature like this before." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the barren wasteland that stretched as far as the eye could see. Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus trudged through the sand, their spirits weighed down by exhaustion and the knowledge that they were no closer to their destination than when they had started. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the air, causing them all to stop in their tracks. Akari's eyes narrowed as she scanned the horizon, her senses heightened by the strange pendant around her neck. There, in the distance, a cave system loomed, its entrance shrouded in darkness. "We should rest for the night," Gideon suggested, breaking the silence that had fallen over them. "Tomorrow we can explore the caves." Akari nodded reluctantly, her gaze never leaving the dark opening. She could feel something lurking within, a presence she couldn't quite place, but knew was dangerous. As night fell, they made camp near the cave entrance, huddled around a small fire. Zephyrus kept watch, his keen senses attuned to any movements in the darkness. Despite their exhaustion, sleep did not come easily for any of them. The next morning, they ventured into the caves, torches in hand to illuminate their path. The walls were lined with strange symbols etched deep into the stone, glowing faintly in the torchlight. Akari's pendant pulsed softly as she passed by each one, her connection to it growing stronger. The deeper they ventured, the more treacherous the terrain became. Large boulders blocked their way, forcing them to climb over or find alternate paths. Twisting passages led them in circles, disorienting them and causing tension within the group. "I sense something ahead," Zephyrus growled, his eyes fixed on a distant chamber. "We must be cautious." As they entered the chamber, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Akari's heart raced as she recognized the creature from her dreams, the one that had haunted her since her transformation began. The battle was fierce, with the creature striking at them with ferocity. Akari drew upon her newfound power, channeling energy through her body to match its attacks. Gideon and Zephyrus fought alongside her, their combined strength proving more than a match for the beast. Finally, the creature lay defeated on the ground, its form dissolving into dark smoke that drifted away into the shadows. Akari's pendant glowed brightly, pulsating with an energy she couldn't comprehend. Zephyrus approached the carcass, studying it intently before turning to face them. "This is not over," he warned, his voice filled with foreboding. "There are more like this one, and they will not rest until they destroy us all." The group exchanged worried glances, knowing that their journey was far from over. They had faced danger before, but never anything quite like this. The weight of their mission weighed heavily on them as they continued through the caves, seeking answers to questions they hadn't even realized they had. As they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine cave system, they encountered more strange creatures, each one more powerful than the last. Akari's transformation continued to grow stronger, her senses becoming increasingly heightened. She felt a connection to these beasts, an understanding of their power and the danger they posed. The deeper they went, the more she began to question her own identity. Was she truly human anymore? Or was she something else entirely? A creature born from the darkest parts of their world. This newfound power came at a cost, however. With each battle, Akari felt herself changing, becoming something she couldn't quite recognize. She struggled to reconcile her past with this new reality, torn between the life she had known and the one she was now living. In the darkest, most dangerous parts of the cave system, they found an ancient artifact, a pendant that looked remarkably similar to Akari's own. As she reached out to touch it, a flood of memories washed over her, revealing secrets about her people and their extinction. The revelations were shocking, twisting everything she thought she knew about her past on its head. She learned of the true antagonist behind their downfall, someone she had never suspected. With this newfound knowledge, Akari's resolve hardened. She would not rest until she uncovered the truth and exacted vengeance upon those responsible for her people's destruction. The journey ahead was treacherous, filled with danger and uncertainty, but Akari knew that she had no choice. She must continue on. The group emerged from the labyrinthine caves, battered and bruised but alive. They had faced their fears and come out stronger for it. As they looked upon the barren wasteland before them, they knew that their quest was far from over. But they also knew that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. Echo of the forgotten warrior in the heart of a barren wasteland, Akari's pendant glowed softly around her neck as she stumbled through a dense fog. Gideon and Zephyrus trailed behind, their eyes fixed on the strange creatures lurking in the shadows. Akari's dreams had been haunted by these monstrous beings for weeks now, but she never imagined they would be real. "We must press on," Gideon urged, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. "The labyrinthine caves are our only hope of finding more answers." Zephyrus nodded, his powerful form rippling as he shifted uneasily. "I sense something, a presence deeper within these caves," he growled, eyes scanning the dim horizon. "Then let's not waste time," Akari grumbled, pushing forward. The fog thickened around them, and she felt a chill run down her spine as the strange creatures began to emerge from the darkness. Akari unleashed her powers, a torrent of energy that sent the creatures scurrying back into the shadows. Gideon and Zephyrus followed suit, their own abilities pulsating in response to Akari's outburst. As they ventured deeper into the cave system, the walls were adorned with strange symbols etched onto them, each one seeming more ominous than the last. "What do you make of these?" Akari asked, tracing her fingers over a particularly intricate carving. Zephyrus leaned in closer, studying the symbol. "It appears to be an ancient artifact of our people, but its purpose remains unclear." Gideon stepped forward, eyes fixed on the symbol. His expression remained calm, but Akari could sense the tension building beneath his surface. "We should proceed with caution," he warned. "There may be more than we bargained for in these caves." As they moved deeper into the labyrinth, strange creatures continued to lurk in the shadows. The air grew thicker, and Akari could feel her powers growing stronger with each step. Suddenly, a loud growl echoed through the cave, followed by the sound of something heavy moving nearby. Gideon pulled out his torch, casting a dim light on the cavern walls as they rushed towards the source of the noise. A larger strange creature burst forth from the shadows, its twisted form unlike anything they had ever seen before. Its eyes burned with malice, and it seemed to be made entirely of darkness and shadow. Akari felt a surge of fear as she watched it stalk closer, her powers surging within her at the sight of the creature. Akari unleashed a torrent of energy, sending the creature reeling backward. But it was stronger than they had anticipated, and it continued to press forward, its twisted form seemingly unaffected by Akari's attacks. Zephyrus lunged at the creature, his powerful claws slashing through its darkness, but it reformed quickly, dodging and weaving around him as if it were a living shadow. Gideon stepped forward, eyes narrowing as he studied the creature. "This is unlike anything we've encountered before," he said quietly. "We must work together if we are to defeat this thing." Akari nodded, feeling her resolve strengthening within her. She focused all her energy on the creature, channeling everything she had into a final, devastating attack. The air around them crackled with energy as Akari unleashed her full power, and for a moment, the cave was filled with an ethereal glow. The strange creature let out a deafening roar as it was engulfed by Akari's energy. Its twisted form writhed and shrieked before dissipating into nothingness. Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus found themselves standing at a crossroads within the labyrinthine caves they had been exploring for days. The walls were lined with strange symbols etched into the rock, some familiar, others foreign to them. A sense of unease settled over Akari as she looked at the dark, damp passageways stretching out in every direction. "We've come a long way," Zephyrus said, his voice echoing off the stone walls. "I sense another artifact nearby." Gideon nodded and pointed towards one of the passages. "Let's follow this one. I feel something drawing us in." The trio ventured deeper into the caves, their torches casting flickering shadows on the walls as they went. The air grew colder, and Akari couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She clutched her pendant tightly as they walked, the ethereal glow from the stone amulet illuminating their path. As they traversed the treacherous cave system, strange creatures lurked in the shadows. Some were small and scurried away at the slightest noise, while others were larger and more intimidating, emerging when they least expected it. One such creature burst forth from the darkness, its body twisting and shifting like living shadow as it lunged towards Akari. She reacted instinctively, unleashing a torrent of energy that engulfed the strange beast. It shrieked in agony before dissolving back into darkness. The others stared at her in shock, their eyes wide with fear and disbelief. "I didn't mean to. I don't know what came over me," Akari whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "I thought it was attacking us." Gideon stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It's all right, Akari. We all react differently in moments like that." Zephyrus nodded in agreement. "We must be careful not to let our fear control us. That creature was unlike anything we have encountered before. We need to find answers if we are to survive this journey." Echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari's group trudged through the treacherous cave system, clutching torches that flickered dimly in the darkness. The cavern walls were adorned with strange symbols etched into the stone, their meanings unknown. An eerie silence permeated the air, broken only by the sound of dripping water and the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the darkness, making Akari's heart race. She gripped her pendant tightly as a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and changing like living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice, fixing itself upon their group. The creature lunged forward, revealing sharp teeth and claws that seemed to pierce the very air around it. Akari's eyes widened in fear as she braced herself for impact, but before the creature could reach them, Zephyrus stepped between it and her friends. The powerful beast roared, but Zephyrus stood his ground, his muscles rippling with power. The confrontation was brief but intense, the strange creature's twisted form bending and contorting in an attempt to overpower Zephyrus. However, he proved to be a formidable opponent, parrying its attacks with ease. The otherworldly beast retreated, snarling as it disappeared back into the shadows from whence it came. Akari's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the creature vanish. She looked to Zephyrus, who stood tall and unharmed, his eyes filled with determination. Gideon offered a reassuring nod, and they continued their journey deeper into the cave system. The trio pressed on through the labyrinthine caves, their torches casting flickering shadows that seemed to dance around them like restless spirits. Strange symbols etched onto the walls guided their path, but the deeper they ventured, the more sinister they felt. Akari clutched her pendant tightly, its ethereal glow pulsing rhythmically against her chest as she stared at the strange markings before her. "This is where we part ways," Zephyrus said, breaking the silence that had settled upon them. "I cannot go any further without knowing if I can trust Gideon." Gideon's eyes narrowed. "You don't trust me?" His voice was laced with frustration. "No," Akari admitted. "I can't shake the feeling that you're here hiding something. You claim to know more about our people than you let on, but I still feel like there are secrets you haven't shared." Zephyrus sighed heavily. "Very well. I will tell you what I know about the pendant and the hidden artifact, but remember that it comes with consequences." "I'm ready," Akari said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. She had faced many challenges during this journey, but she was determined to uncover the truth about her people and her own destiny. Zephyrus began recounting stories of their ancient civilization, of a powerful artifact that granted its wielder immense power, enough to challenge the gods themselves. The pendant Akari wore around her neck held a piece of that ancient power, but it also attracted malevolent creatures that sought to claim it for themselves. The hidden artifact, he continued, is said to be located deep within this labyrinthine cave system. It's guarded by an unimaginable beast, one that has grown stronger with each passing day as the pendant's power grew weaker. The only way to defeat it is to find another artifact, one that complements the pendant and strengthens its power. What do you know about this second artifact? Akari asked, her mind racing. Zephyrus hesitated before answering. I have heard rumors of a powerful artifact hidden in a temple deep within the barren wasteland. It is said to be guarded by fierce warriors and traps designed to test the worthiness of those who seek it. We cannot go there alone, Gideon interjected, his voice cold and calculated. I will accompany you and help secure this artifact. Together, we can face whatever challenges lie ahead and claim our rightful place among your people. Akari hesitated, unsure of whether to trust him or not. But deep down she knew that she couldn't do this alone. She looked at Zephyrus, who nodded his approval. Very well, Akari said finally. Let us press on and face whatever challenges lie ahead. As they continued their journey through the treacherous caves, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced back over her shoulder, but saw only darkness and shadows. Something was following them, something malevolent and sinister. But for now, they had more pressing matters to attend to, finding the second artifact and defeating the beast guarding the hidden one. As they approached the temple in the barren wasteland, Akari couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The air around them seemed heavy with anticipation, as if the very ground beneath their feet trembled with unspoken threats. She gripped her pendant tightly, feeling its power surging within her, and steeled herself for what lay ahead. The temple's entrance was guarded by fierce warriors, their bodies twisted and contorted into terrifying shapes that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Akari unleashed a burst of energy, destroying one of the guards with a single blast. Gideon fought alongside her, his movements fluid and deadly as he dispatched the remaining guards with ease. Inside the temple, they found a series of traps designed to test their worthiness, puzzles that required both brain and brawn, trials that tested their resolve and courage. Akari felt her power growing stronger with each challenge she overcame, but she also sensed something darker lurking within herself. Something primal and dangerous that threatened to consume her if she allowed it. Finally, they reached the chamber containing the second artifact, a large crystal embedded in a pedestal of stone. Akari approached cautiously, feeling the power of the pendant grow stronger within her. As she reached out to grasp the crystal, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her veins, filling her with a sense of purpose and determination. But as she touched the crystal, something unexpected happened. The temple began to shake violently, and a roar echoed through the chamber. A massive beast emerged from the shadows, its body twisted and grotesque, its eyes burning with malice. It was the guardian of the hidden artifact, and it seemed determined to stop them at all costs. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal, with Akari unleashing her full power against the beast. Gideon fought alongside her, his sword flashing through the air as he battled the monstrous creature. But despite their best efforts, they struggled to land a decisive blow. Finally, Zephyrus appeared, his powerful roar echoing through the chamber as he charged at the beast. Together, they fought against the guardian of the hidden artifact, their combined strength and determination finally overcoming it. As the creature fell, Akari felt a surge of triumph. She had faced her greatest challenge yet and emerged victorious. But even as she stood amidst the wreckage of the temple, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. She knew that they would face more challenges ahead, but she was ready to meet them head-on. With the second artifact in hand and her power growing stronger with each passing day, she felt a newfound sense of purpose and determination. And so, Akari, Gideon and Zephyrus continued their journey through the barren wasteland, their destination now within reach, the hidden artifact that would grant them the power to challenge the gods themselves. They faced many more challenges along the way, but they were determined to see this journey through to the end. Echoes of the forgotten warrior. Akari's eyes flickered open, her heart racing as she sat up. The cave around her seemed eerily quiet, save for the distant sounds of dripping water. She felt drained, the remnants of a fierce battle still lingering in her muscles and mind. "Zephyrus, Gideon," she whispered, scanning their surroundings. "We need to move quickly." The powerful beast and the mysterious wanderer emerged from the shadows, their eyes also focused on the cave's entrance. The darkness was thick here, and the walls were adorned with strange symbols etched into the rock. "What is it?" Gideon asked, sensing Akari's tension. Akari took a deep breath before replying, her voice shaky. I think we're closer to finding what we seek." Zephyrus nodded, his eyes scanning the symbols with interest. "We should be cautious. There may be traps or guardians protecting this place." They ventured deeper into the cave system, their movements silent and calculated. Akari could feel the weight of her pendant around her neck, the ethereal glow pulsing gently with each step they took. The trio's path led them to a dark, damp cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. "This place, it feels familiar," Akari murmured, her eyes tracing over the intricate patterns. Zephyrus stepped closer, examining the symbols. "It appears to be an ancient artifact of your people. I believe this is the temple they worshipped in." Gideon looked skeptical. "How do you know that?" "I have seen similar markings before," Zephyrus replied cryptically. "But there's something else here, another artifact, hidden away." As they moved deeper into the temple, a strange creature emerged from the shadows. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice. "What is that?" Akari whispered, her hand tightening on her staff. Zephyrus stepped in front of them, his fur bristling. "Stay back." The creature lunged at them, its form contorting into something more monstrous. Akari unleashed a powerful energy blast, sending the beast flying back. It hit the wall with a sickening crunch and lay still. "We must be careful," Zephyrus warned as they continued their search. "There may be more like this one." As they delved deeper into the temple, the air grew colder, and Akari could feel an ominous presence growing stronger. She gripped her pendant tightly, feeling a strange connection to this place she had never known existed. "What is it?" Gideon asked again, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "Why do you seem so troubled?" Akari sighed, her eyes filling with tears. I feel like I've been here before. Like this place holds answers I'm not ready to face." Zephyrus placed a comforting paw on Akari's shoulder. "We will find what we seek and uncover the truth together, Akari." They pressed on, their journey leading deeper into darkness. The temple seemed endless, its walls adorned with strange symbols that spoke of an ancient power long forgotten. As they ventured further, the trio faced more strange creatures, each one more dangerous than the last. The group had traveled deeper into the labyrinthine caves than anyone dared before them. The air grew cold, the walls slick with moisture, and strange symbols etched onto the stone whispered eerily in the wind. Ahead lay a dark cave, its entrance illuminated by the flickering light of Zephyrus' torch. Akari hesitated, her heart racing as she felt a familiar presence within the darkness. She clutched the pendant around her neck tighter, her eyes never leaving the mysterious symbol etched onto it. Gideon and Zephyrus exchanged glances, but said nothing, their senses alert for any danger. As they stepped into the cave, Akari's breath caught in her throat as a strange creature emerged from the shadows. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt a chill run down her spine as she remembered dreams of this very creature. Akari raised her hands, the energy pulsing within her threatening to burst forth. She hesitated for a moment before unleashing a blast that sent the creature reeling back into the shadows. The group advanced cautiously, their hearts pounding in their chests as they faced more strange creatures lurking in the darkness. Each battle brought them closer to answers and redemption, but also tested their resolve. Akari felt a sense of familiarity with each encounter, as if she was reliving her people's past struggles. As they delved deeper into the cave system, the walls closed in around them, the air growing colder and more oppressive. Ahead lay a crossroads, one path leading back to the surface, the other deeper still into the darkness. The group paused, unsure of which way to go. Akari looked at Gideon and Zephyrus, their faces etched with determination. She knew they would stand by her no matter what lay ahead, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the true test was yet to come. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, ready for whatever awaited them. Echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari's heart raced as they trudged through the treacherous cave system, her pendant glowing faintly in the darkness. Gideon and Zephyrus remained close behind, their footsteps echoing off the damp walls. The air grew thicker with each step, suffocating them like a heavy fog. They pressed on, the weight of the ancient artifact around Akari's neck growing heavier with every passing moment. Memories flooded her mind, memories of her people, of their destruction, and of the darkness that consumed them all. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and contorting as it moved towards them. Akari's eyes widened in terror, her fingers tightening around the pendant. She unleashed an energy blast, sending the creature tumbling back into the darkness. Gideon and Zephyrus looked at each other nervously as more of these strange creatures emerged from the shadows. They fought bravely, fending off the creatures while Akari focused on maintaining her defensive barrier. But it was clear they were outmatched. There seemed to be more creatures than they could handle. Just when all hope seemed lost, a bright light erupted from the cave wall behind them. A figure stepped forward, their eyes burning with an intensity that made the strange creatures recoil in fear. It was Zephyrus, his form shifting and growing in power as he faced down the creatures. Together, they fought back against the tide of darkness, pushing through the relentless onslaught of strange creatures until only one remained. With a final burst of energy, Akari destroyed it, collapsing to the ground as exhaustion took hold. Zephyrus approached her gently, helping her to stand. "We must press on," he said, his voice firm but kind. "The answers we seek are within this temple." The air grew colder as Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus ventured deeper into the labyrinthine cave system. The walls were slick with moisture, dripping water onto their heads as they moved cautiously through the darkness. An ethereal glow emanated from the pendant around Akari's neck, illuminating their path. "We must be careful," Zephyrus warned, sensing the malice lurking in the shadows. "Strange creatures dwell here." Akari nodded solemnly, clutching the pendant tighter as she pushed forward, with determination in her eyes. She couldn't shake the feeling that the pendant held secrets she wasn't yet ready to uncover. As they moved through the winding passageways, the ground began to tremble beneath their feet. A loud, guttural growl echoed through the caves, causing Zephyrus' fur to bristle. Gideon pulled out a torch, casting flickering light on the walls as they scanned for any signs of danger. The group rounded a bend and stumbled upon a dark cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. Akari felt a chill run down her spine as she recognized them, remnants from her people's ancient language. They were no longer just exploring an abandoned cave system. They had entered sacred ground. Before anyone could react, a large, twisted creature erupted from the darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and it hissed at the intruders. Akari felt her heart race as she remembered this creature from her dreams. "Akari," Zephyrus growled, transforming into a fierce beast. "Stay back." Gideon brandished a weapon, trying to keep the creature at bay while Zephyrus fought it off. Akari unleashed energy blasts to help, but they seemed to have no effect on the strange creature. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, and it outmatched them in numbers. Zephyrus roared as it battled the creature, using its strength to keep them at bay. Akari watched in horror as the creatures continued to emerge from the shadows, surrounding them on all sides. She felt helpless, trapped between her fear and her duty. Just when all seemed lost, Zephyrus unleashed a powerful energy blast that obliterated the last creature, leaving only silence in its wake. The group gasped as they stared at the carnage before them. They had barely survived, but they knew they couldn't rest for long. Zephyrus helped Akari to her feet and urged her onward. "We must find the temple," it said, its voice heavy with determination. "The answers we seek lie within." Echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari's eyes scanned the dimly lit cavern walls adorned with ancient symbols from her people's language, remnants of a forgotten race that once thrived in this land. Her hand tightened around the strange pendant around her neck, its ethereal glow flickering faintly. Gideon and Zephyrus followed closely behind, each taking turns lighting their path with torches. "We are nearing the temple," Zephyrus said, his deep voice echoing off the stone walls. "I can sense its power growing stronger as we delve deeper into this cave system." Akari's heart raced as she felt the weight of her destiny pressing upon her shoulders. The last remnants of her race's power coursed through her veins, a constant reminder of what was at stake. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Gideon. He seemed too eager to guide them on their quest. Suddenly, a loud scuffling noise echoed from deeper within the cave system. Akari's eyes widened as her heart raced faster. "What was that?" she asked, gripping the pendant tighter. Gideon paused for a moment before responding. "I can't be sure. It might have been an animal." He continued walking forward, but his pace seemed slower than before. Akari's gaze darted around the dimly lit cavern, searching for any sign of danger. The shadows seemed to dance and shift, playing tricks on her eyes. She felt a cold, creeping sensation along her spine. "I don't trust him," she muttered under her breath, glancing sideways at Gideon. Zephyrus sensed the tension in the air. "We should move quickly, Akari," he said, his tone stern yet gentle. "We cannot afford to waste time." As they ventured further into the cave, the shadows seemed to close in around them, casting a pall over the group. The scuffling noise grew louder, and suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the darkness. It resembled none they had ever seen before, twisting like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, staring directly at Akari. Akari felt her heart race as she raised her hand, the pendant glowing brighter in response to the creature's presence. "We must fight," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the beating of her own heart. Gideon and Zephyrus moved into position, their eyes locked on the strange creature. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. As the battle began, Akari felt a surge of power coursing through her veins, the pendant pulsating in response. She knew that this was her destiny, to defend her people and reclaim their lost powers. Despite their efforts, it seemed impossible to defeat the creature. It twisted and shifted, its form changing as it dodged their attacks. Just when all hope lost, Zephyrus unleashed a powerful energy blast that obliterated the last creature, sending a shockwave through the cave system. Akari stared at the lifeless corpse of the strange creature, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a surge of emotion, relief, anger, determination. She knew that their journey was far from over, and she would not rest until she discovered the truth about her people's extinction. As they continued onward through the labyrinthine caves, Akari couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Gideon. She decided to confront him, hoping to uncover any secrets he may be hiding. As the shadows closed in around them and strange creatures lurked in the darkness, she felt a renewed determination to protect her people at all costs. In the darkness, the air grew thick and heavy with tension. Akari clutched tightly to the pendant around her neck, feeling its connection to their ancient heritage grow stronger as they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine caves. Gideon walked ahead, his eyes scanning every corner of the cave walls for any signs of danger or hidden passages. Zephyrus followed closely behind, sensing the presence of more strange creatures lurking in the shadows. As they moved through the winding tunnels, Akari couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling that something was amiss with Gideon. He had been acting strangely ever since they discovered the hidden artifact at the crossroads, always glancing back at it as if lost in thought or memory. She decided to confront him about it once they reached a safe spot. The group soon arrived at an enormous cavern filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. As Akari gazed upon the ancient markings, she felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through her veins, as if the power of their people resonated within them. She knew this was the temple they had been searching for, the place where they could reclaim their lost powers and unravel the secrets of their extinction. Gideon approached one of the symbols, running his fingers along the etchings. "This is incredible," he whispered in awe. "I've never seen anything like this before." Akari watched him suspiciously. "What do you know about these symbols?" she asked. He hesitated for a moment before replying, "Very little. I've encountered similar markings on my travels, but their true purpose remains a mystery." Zephyrus growled low in his throat, sensing that something was off about Gideon's response. Akari felt her instincts telling her to be cautious, but she couldn't ignore the call of the temple before them. They had come too far to turn back now. As they continued exploring the cavern, strange creatures began emerging from the shadows, their twisted forms shifting and changing as they moved. Akari felt her heart racing in her chest as she prepared for battle. She unleashed a burst of power, blasting one of the creatures into oblivion before it could get close to them. More creatures poured forth from the darkness, their numbers growing exponentially. Zephyrus roared and released powerful energy blasts, cutting a swath through the monstrous beasts that threatened their lives. Akari fought with renewed determination, feeling her power grow stronger as she battled for her people's survival. Despite their combined efforts, the creatures proved relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Just when all hope seemed lost, Gideon stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He raised his hands and unleashed a torrent of energy that obliterated the remaining creatures, leaving the group standing victorious amidst the wreckage. Akari stared at Gideon in shock as he lowered his arms, his expression blank. She knew something was wrong. He had never used such power before, and it was clear that he had been hiding something from them. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to confront him once more when they left the temple. As they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine caves, Akari couldn't shake off her unease about Gideon and his mysterious powers. She vowed to protect her people at all costs, no matter what secrets lay hidden beneath the surface. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, but she knew that the answers they sought were worth the risk. The group moved through the treacherous cave system, facing numerous challenges and strange creatures along the way. Despite their struggles, they continued their quest, driven by a burning desire to reclaim their lost powers and learn the truth about their extinction. As they traveled deeper into the heart of the barren wasteland, they came upon an ancient temple, its stone walls adorned with carvings depicting scenes from their forgotten history. Entering the temple, Akari felt a profound connection to her people and their past as she gazed upon the intricate details etched into the stone. She knew that this was the place where they could finally reclaim their heritage and uncover the secrets of their extinction. Gideon, however, seemed distant and preoccupied. Akari felt a growing sense of unease as he wandered through the temple, studying the carvings with an intensity that bordered on obsession. She decided it was time to confront him once and for all about his true intentions and the secrets he had been hiding from her. As they stood before an ancient statue, Akari turned to Gideon and demanded answers. "Why have you been keeping secrets from us?" she asked, her voice filled with anger and frustration. "What is it that you're hiding?" Gideon hesitated for a moment before replying, his eyes never leaving the statue before them. "I had hoped to protect you," he said softly. "But I see now that my actions have only caused more harm than good." Akari's eyes narrowed as she took a step closer to him. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. "What secrets are you hiding?" Gideon sighed, his shoulders slumping in resignation. "I am a descendant of the enemy that wiped out your people," he confessed. "I was sent to observe and report on your progress, but I have grown to care for you all and cannot bear to see you continue down this path." Akari's world seemed to shatter around her as she stared at Gideon in disbelief. She couldn't believe that the one person who had been helping them was actually an enemy in disguise. She felt a surge of anger and betrayal coursing through her veins, but she knew that they could not afford to let their emotions control them. They had come too far to give up now. Zephyrus growled low in his throat, sensing the tension between Akari and Gideon. He stepped forward protectively, ready to defend her, if necessary. But Akari raised a hand to stop him, knowing that they needed answers more than they needed to fight. "Why are you telling us this now?" she asked, struggling to keep her voice steady. "What do you want from us?" Gideon looked at her with a pained expression. "I want to help you," he said sincerely. "I know the truth about your people's extinction and I can show you how to reclaim your power, but it will require great sacrifice." Akari felt a wave of confusion wash over her as she tried to process Gideon's words. She couldn't believe that he had been an enemy all along, but she also couldn't ignore the possibility that he could help them reclaim their lost powers. She knew that they were running out of time and that they needed answers, if they were going to have any chance of surviving in this harsh world. "I don't know what to believe anymore," Akari said, her voice shaking with emotion. "But I can't deny that we need help. If you truly want to assist us, then show us the way." Gideon nodded, a determined look crossing his face. "Very well," he said. "Follow me." As they left the temple and continued their journey through the labyrinthine caves, Akari couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being led into a trap. But she knew that they had no choice, they needed answers, and Gideon seemed to be their only hope. She vowed to stay vigilant and to trust her instincts, even if it meant putting her life on the line. Echoes of the forgotten warrior Akari's pendant pulsed with an ethereal glow as they ventured through a treacherous cave system, her footsteps echoing off the damp walls. Gideon followed closely behind, his eyes scanning the darkness for any signs of danger. Zephyrus, ever watchful, hovered above them, his keen senses alert to every movement. As they progressed deeper into the labyrinthine caves, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its twisted form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt an icy chill run down her spine. The beast lunged towards them, causing Gideon to react quickly, unsheathing a sword that seemed to hum with power. Zephyrus swooped down, using his formidable strength to pin the creature against the wall, but it twisted and writhed in his grasp, snapping at him with sharp teeth. Akari could feel her pendant pulsating in response to the creature's presence, the energy within it growing stronger as she fought to control it. Gideon struck the creature with a powerful blow, sending it tumbling to the ground. The beast writhed and twitched for several moments before finally going still. Akari felt a sense of relief wash over her, but she knew that this was not the last they would see of such creatures. They continued on through the caves, their journey fraught with danger at every turn. But as they pressed deeper into the labyrinthine caverns, they began to notice strange symbols etched onto the walls, symbols that seemed familiar to Akari. She felt a sudden surge of energy within her, and she realized that these were the same symbols that had been carved onto the pendant around her neck. The group ventured onwards, driven by a sense of urgency as they sought answers to their people's extinction. The caves grew darker and more treacherous, but they pressed on, determined to uncover the truth hidden deep within these ancient halls. As they journeyed further, Akari felt her connection to the symbols grow stronger, and she began to feel a strange sense of peace. Akari's group ventured deeper into the treacherous cave system, the ancient symbols etched onto the walls glowing softly under the dim torchlight. The air grew colder as they descended further, and a sense of unease settled upon them. "It's strange," Gideon mused, "the way these symbols seem to react to Akari's pendant." Zephyrus nodded, eyes narrowing as he scanned the cave walls for any new inscriptions. "We should pay close attention to them. Perhaps they hold a clue to our people's past or a warning about what lies ahead." Suddenly a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its twisted form shimmering like living darkness. It moved with an eerie grace, its eyes burning with malice as it regarded Akari's group. "What is that?" Akari whispered, her heart racing. The creature was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, shifting and changing as it moved. Gideon raised his sword, his eyes focused on the menacing figure. "We must defeat it if we are to continue." The battle against the strange creature was fierce, its movements swift and unpredictable. But Gideon's sword, imbued with an ancient power, proved a formidable weapon against the twisted being. With each strike, he pushed it back until, at last, it crumpled to the ground, defeated. Exhausted but relieved, Akari's group cautiously continued their journey, knowing that more challenges awaited them in the dark, labyrinthine caves. The strange creature they had vanquished was a reminder of the dangers lurking around every corner, and they resolved to remain vigilant as they sought answers about their people's extinction. As they ventured deeper into the cave system, Akari began to feel a strange connection with the ancient symbols etched onto the walls. The pendant around her neck hummed softly as it pulsed in time with her heartbeat, sending waves of energy through her body that left her feeling both peaceful and powerful. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced before, and she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the artifact might hold. The group eventually came across a dark cave, filled with more strange symbols etched onto the walls. Akari felt a sudden surge of energy as she stepped inside, her pendant glowing brighter than ever. In that moment, she knew they had come to a significant place, one that would change everything they thought they knew about their people's past and their own destiny. Echoes of the Forgotten Warrior, the group had just emerged into a vast cavern, its walls glittering with ancient symbols that seemed to pulse with an eerie light. Akari felt her pendant grow warm against her chest, as if it were trying to communicate something vital. Gideon and Zephyrus exchanged worried glances as they followed her toward the heart of the cave. The air grew colder and a faint hum echoed through the cavern, growing louder with each step. As they ventured deeper into the darkness, Akari felt a strange presence lurking in the shadows. She clutched the pendant tighter, drawing strength from its connection to her people. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari felt a primal fear surge through her veins. Gideon charged forward, swinging his sword with practiced ease, but the beast was too elusive. The creature slithered away, leaving them shaken but unharmed. As they pressed on, more strange creatures lurked in the shadows, emerging to attack them at every turn. Each time, Gideon's sword proved effective against them, but Akari couldn't shake the feeling that these weren't just ordinary monsters. They were somehow connected to her people and their past. Finally, they reached a dark cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. The pendant around Akari's neck pulsed fiercely, its light illuminating the room in ethereal blue. As she stepped inside, she felt a connection to this place like never before. "We must explore this cave," Akari said, her voice shaking slightly. "I believe it holds the key to understanding our people's past." Zephyrus nodded, sensing the urgency in her words. "Very well, let us proceed." As they ventured deeper into the cave, the walls began to close in around them. The air grew thick with an oppressive energy that seemed to drain their strength. Akari felt a sense of foreboding growing stronger as they delved further into the darkness. Suddenly, a larger strange creature burst forth from the shadows. Its form was monstrous, its eyes burning with malice and rage. It roared, charging towards them with terrifying speed. Gideon swung his sword, but it seemed to have no effect on the beast's unnatural armor. Zephyrus stepped in front of Akari, shielding her from the creature's attack. His body rippled with power as he fought, but even his strength couldn't hold against the beast's relentless assault. Akari watched helplessly as her allies struggled to fend off the monstrous threat. Suddenly, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her veins. The pendant around her neck glowed brighter than ever before, its light illuminating the cave in a brilliant blue radiance. She reached out with her mind, drawing on the power of her people that flowed through her like a river. Akari's body began to change, morphing and contorting as she tapped into this newfound power. Her limbs grew stronger, her muscles rippling with raw energy. Her eyes burned with an inner fire that mirrored the beast before her. She roared, charging forward, and collided with the creature in a clash of titans. The battle raged on, neither combatant giving ground. Akari felt as if she were fighting not just for her own survival, but for the future of her people. The pendant around her neck pulsed fiercely, channeling the power of her ancestors into every strike. As they fought, Gideon and Zephyrus watched in amazement. They had never seen such raw power before. Akari was as unlike anything they'd ever encountered, a living embodiment of her people's history and destiny. Finally, with a mighty roar, Akari struck the beast down. It collapsed to the ground, defeated. She stood over it, panting heavily, her body glowing with energy. Her transformation was complete. She looked up at Gideon and Zephyrus, her eyes filled with determination. "We must continue on," she said, her voice stronger than ever before. "This is just the beginning." As they left the cave, Akari felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. The pendant around her neck pulsed gently, its light fading as her transformation completed. She knew that their journey would not be easy, but she was ready to face whatever came next. The group ventured deeper into the labyrinthine cave system, encountering more strange creatures and ancient artifacts along the way. They fought their way through treacherous caves, overcoming internal struggles and external threats alike. Akari's powers grew stronger with each passing day, as did her understanding of her people's past and destiny. They eventually arrived at a temple deep within the barren wasteland, surrounded by an enormous cavern. The air shimmered with energy, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Akari felt a connection to this place like never before. It was the heart of her people's power. As they entered the temple, they were met by a powerful being who claimed to be the leader of their forgotten race. He revealed that Akari was destined to become the ultimate warrior, capable of wielding the full power of their people and defeating the true antagonist who had caused their downfall. Akari was torn between her desire for revenge and her desire for redemption. She knew that by embracing her newfound powers, she could bring about the destruction of those who had wronged her people, but at what cost? Would she lose herself in the process, becoming the very thing she sought to destroy? As the battle lines were drawn, Akari faced a difficult choice. In the end, she chose redemption over revenge, vowing to use her newfound powers for good and reclaim their people's lost glory. Together with Gideon Zephyrus and the remaining remnants of her race, they prepared for the final confrontation that would determine the fate of their forgotten warrior's lineage. In the climactic battle, Akari uncovered the identity of the true antagonist, a powerful being who had sought to use her people as pawns in a grand game of power and control. She learned the devastating consequences of her own actions and was forced to confront the darkness within herself. As she stood before the final enemy, Akari realized that she held the power not only to destroy but also to heal. With a mighty roar, she channeled the full force of her people's power, striking down the antagonist and ending their reign of terror once and for all. In the aftermath, Akari and her allies reclaimed their lost powers and began the process of rebuilding their people's shattered empire. They faced many challenges along the way, but with determination, unity, and the strength of their ancestors guiding them, they persevered. In the barren wasteland, Zephyrus gazed upon the ancient temple atop a hill, his eyes filled with determination. "It's time," he said to Akari and Gideon, who stood nervously beside him. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," Akari murmured, clutching her pendant tightly. "What if I can't control these powers?" Gideon placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've come far, Akari. You'll be fine." They approached the temple's entrance, its stone steps worn smooth by time and countless feet. As they descended, the air grew colder, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Inside, they found themselves in a vast cavern, the walls adorned with strange symbols etched into the stone. A faint glow emanated from an ancient artifact, atop an altar at the far end of the room. Suddenly, the cavern shook violently. Akari's pendant began to pulse in her hand, its light growing brighter. The symbols on the walls seemed to dance before their eyes. Zephyrus growled and stepped protectively in front of Akari and Gideon as a dark figure emerged from the shadows at the back of the cavern. The figure was unlike anything they had ever seen, its form shifting and twisting like living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice, and it let out a chilling laugh that echoed through the cavern. Akari's pendant flared brightly as she stumbled backward, her powers surging within her. "This is far from over," the figure cackled. "You may have defeated my minions, but you cannot defeat me." Akari felt a surge of anger coursing through her veins. She knew the true antagonist was responsible for the extinction of her people, and she would not rest until vengeance was hers. With a shout, Akari unleashed her powers, transforming into a powerful beast with wings that seemed to cut through the air like knives. The creature before them recoiled in fear as Akari charged forward, her claws slashing through the darkness. Gideon and Zephyrus followed close behind, their own powers surging as they joined the fight. Together, they battled the creature, their combined strength proving too much for it to handle. In the end, the creature crumbled into dust, defeated. Akari knelt beside it, her breathing ragged. She looked at Gideon and Zephyrus, tears streaming down her face. "I've done it. I've taken back what was stolen from us." "You are a true warrior," Zephyrus said, offering his hand to help her stand. Gideon knelt beside her, his eyes filled with admiration. "And you have shown that we can choose redemption over revenge." Echoes of the forgotten warrior. Akari's eyes glowed with an ethereal light as she stood tall in the ancient temple, surrounded by her companions Gideon and Zephyrus. The air was thick with anticipation, the silence broken only by their heavy breathing and the distant rumblings of the earth. The temple pulsed with energy, the vibrations growing stronger with each passing moment. In the center of the cavern, an enormous statue towered over them, its features eerily familiar but twisted into something grotesque. A malevolent presence emanated from it, sending chills down Akari's spine. The pendant around her neck began to glow brighter, mirroring the statue's ominous energy. "We must destroy this thing," Gideon growled, his fists clenching at his sides. "It is the cause of our people's downfall." Zephyrus nodded solemnly. "Akari, you have shown great power in your transformation. Together, we can end this once and for all." Akari swallowed hard, her heart racing as she looked into the eyes of the statue. She felt a strange connection to it, one that made her question everything she knew about her people's past and her own destiny. But she could not let doubt cloud her judgment now. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The temple trembled as Akari approached the statue, the ground shaking beneath their feet. The energy pulsing from the pendant grew stronger, swirling around her like a storm. With a mighty roar, Akari transformed once more, her body stretching and changing as she took on a monstrous form. Gideon and Zephyrus stood tall beside her, ready to face the darkness together. As one, they charged at the statue, their combined strength sending it toppling over with a deafening crash. The temple shook violently, its walls cracking and crumbling as the trio fought against an army of strange creatures that poured forth from the shadows. Akari's claws slashed through the air, cutting down creatures left and right. Gideon wielded his sword with deadly precision, while Zephyrus unleashed powerful gusts of wind that sent their foes flying. Together, they fought for survival, each blow striking a devastating blow to the creatures before them. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, the temple's walls collapsing around them as they battled through the darkness. Akari could feel the weight of her people's history pressing down on her shoulders, but she refused to give in. She fought not just for herself, but for all those who had been lost. Finally, with one last mighty roar, Akari struck down the leader of the strange creatures, its twisted form dissolving into a pile of dust before their eyes. The temple trembled once more, the ground shaking violently beneath them as the battle came to an end. Exhausted and battered, the three warriors stood atop the rubble, panting heavily. Gideon turned to Akari with a proud smile. "We did it, Akari. We saved our people." Akari stared at him, her eyes filled with tears. She knew that this was only the beginning of their journey, but for now, she allowed herself a moment of victory. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. As the last remnants of their forgotten race, they stood tall in the ruins of their temple, ready to reclaim their place among the stars. But something was missing. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting eerie shadows over the barren wasteland where the ancient temple once stood. Akari, her eyes glowing with an ethereal light, felt a strange connection to the land around them. Gideon and Zephyrus watched as she trudged through the treacherous landscape, her movements slowing as if she could sense something hidden beneath the sand. Her pendant pulsed softly against her chest, emitting an eerie hum that seemed to echo through the air. "Akari," Gideon called out, "are you sure we're on the right path?" She paused and looked back at him, her eyes filled with determination. "I feel it, deep within this land. Something vital. The answers we seek are here." Zephyrus nodded in agreement, his own gaze fixed upon the distant hills. "We must press on then, for our people's sake." The group continued their journey, making their way through a labyrinthine cave system, the walls adorned with strange symbols etched onto them. Akari could feel the power coursing through her veins, an energy she'd never felt before. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder of the true power she held as the last remnant of her race. As they ventured deeper into the caves, the air grew thicker and more oppressive. A sudden rumbling echoed through the tunnels, followed by a faint glow that flickered in the darkness. Akari's heart pounded in her chest as she realized what was happening. The strange creatures from their earlier battle had returned. The group sprinted forward, weaving their way through the narrow passages until they reached a cavern filled with darkness and a strange creature unlike anything they'd ever encountered before. It twisted like living darkness, its form shifting and changing as it moved. Its eyes burned with malice, and Akari could feel a familiar dread wash over her. This is the one from my dreams," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the creature's growls. Gideon and Zephyrus exchanged a glance, their expressions grim as they prepared to face the strange beast once more. Akari knew that this battle would be different. It felt as if everything hinged on its outcome. The creature lunged at them, its dark form snaking through the air with unnatural speed. Gideon and Zephyrus fought valiantly, their powers clashing against the creature's twisted form. Akari watched in horror as the beast seemed to adapt to their attacks, its movements growing more erratic and unpredictable. Suddenly, she felt a surge of energy coursing through her veins. She reached out with her mind, attempting to understand the creature's true nature. The connection was immediate, a torrent of emotions and memories that left her reeling. The strange beast had once been one of their own. A member of Akari's people who had succumbed to darkness and despair transformed into this monstrous form in an attempt to seek revenge against those who had wronged them. The creature's hatred burned like a flame within it, consuming everything in its path. Akari could feel the weight of her people's mistakes, the pain and suffering they had caused. She knew that she must end this now, for the sake of both her people and the creature itself. With a roar, Akari transformed into her monstrous form, her powers surging as she prepared to face her foe. The battle was long and grueling, but in the end Akari emerged victorious, the creature's twisted form dissolving back into darkness. Gideon and Zephyrus approached her, their faces filled with a mix of relief and awe. "You did it, Akari," Gideon said softly. "We never would have stood a chance against that thing without you." Akari stared at the empty cavern, feeling a strange sense of emptiness within her. The creature had been one of their own, and she could not help but wonder if there were more like it out there, lost to darkness and despair. "We must find them," she said quietly, "and bring them back from the edge." Zephyrus nodded solemnly. "We will, Akari." For our people, and for those who have yet to fall, the group continued their journey through the caves, driven by a newfound determination. They knew that their quest was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For Akari, it was no longer just about reclaiming her people's lost powers. It was about redemption and making amends for the mistakes of her past. Echoes of the forgotten warrior, the labyrinthine cave system stretched out before them like an endless maze, its walls lined with strange symbols etched into stone. Akari, Gideon, and Zephyrus led their group deeper into the darkness, guided by Akari's pendant. The air grew colder, heavier as they ventured further. Akari felt her heart race as a sudden, familiar echo resonated through the cave, the same sound that had haunted her dreams for years. She stopped, her hand tightening around the pendant at her neck. "It's here," she whispered. The others looked to her, and Gideon stepped forward cautiously, torchlight illuminating the way before them. A strange creature emerged from the shadows ahead, a twisted mass of flesh, its form shifting and changing like living darkness. Its eyes burned with malice as it stared at Akari. Zephyrus growled low in his throat, ready to attack, but Akari raised her hand, stopping him. "No," she said firmly, "this one is different." She stepped forward, her body trembling with the power that surged through her veins. The creature hissed, its form shifting as it lunged towards her. Akari dodged deftly, her movements fluid and precise. She could feel the weight of her destiny pressing down on her, the knowledge that she was the last remnant of her people. But she refused to let this creature take her life without a fight. The battle raged on, Akari's power growing stronger with each blow she struck. The creature, once so powerful, seemed to grow weaker under her assault. With one final mighty strike, Akari sent it reeling back, its twisted form collapsing into a pile of ashes. The others watched in awe as the dust settled around them. Zephyrus stepped forward, his eyes filled with admiration. "You are truly the last of your people," he said softly, "and you will be their salvation." Akari looked down at the ashen remains of the creature, her heart heavy. She knew that there would be more like it out there, creatures from her own people who had succumbed to darkness and despair. But she also knew that she couldn't give up hope, not now, when she was so close to finding redemption for herself and her people. Gideon offered a weak smile. "We must press on," he said, his voice filled with determination. Akari nodded, the pendant at her neck humming softly, as they continued deeper into the caves, guided by its eerie glow. The journey was long and treacherous, filled with unexpected obstacles and strange creatures lurking in the shadows. But Akari refused to give up, driven by a newfound determination. She would find redemption for her people, even if it cost her everything. And as they ventured deeper into the caves, she felt a growing sense of purpose, a feeling that this was where she belonged, and that she was meant to be here at the dawn of a new era for her people. And so Akari and her companions continued their journey, driven by hope and determination. They knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but they were ready to face whatever lay before them, for they were the last remnants of a forgotten race, and they would not go quietly into the night. The air grew thick with tension as the group navigated the treacherous cave system. Akari's pendant pulsed rhythmically with an unsettling energy. Suddenly, the walls of the cavern began to shudder violently, and a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness ahead. Its twisted form moved with an unnatural speed, shifting and contorting as it approached them. A strange creature, Zephyrus growled, his eyes narrowed in warning. It is unlike anything we have encountered before. Gideon stepped forward, a determined expression on his face. We must confront this threat. Akari, stay close to me. He extended his hand toward her, offering her protection. Akari hesitated, her eyes flicking between the creature and Gideon's outstretched arm. She clenched her fists, feeling the power coursing through her veins, as the pendant hummed louder in response to the danger. With a deep breath, she nodded and took his hand, ready to face whatever lay before them. As they closed the distance between themselves and the strange creature, Gideon murmured an incantation, summoning a wall of fire to surround them. The creature snarled, its eyes burning with malice as it lunged toward them, only to be engulfed by the flames. It writhed and shrieked in pain but continued to advance, unfazed by the fire that consumed it. With a swift movement, Gideon reached for Akari, pulling her behind him just as the creature broke through the barrier of flames. Its twisted form lashed out at them, but they managed to dodge its attacks with agility honed from countless battles. The group fought back, Zephyrus and the others using their powers to keep the creature at bay, while Akari focused on harnessing her own. The battle was long and grueling, the air growing heavy with the scent of charred flesh and burnt earth. The strange creature proved to be a formidable adversary, but they eventually managed to wear it down, its movements becoming slower and weaker as their combined efforts took their toll. Gideon, exhausted from the fight, stumbled back, his body trembling with effort. Akari's pendant glowed brighter than ever before, pulsing wildly in her hand. She felt a surge of power coursing through her veins as she realized that she had played an integral role in their victory. With a cry of triumph, she hurled the pendant at the creature, its ethereal light enveloping it completely and causing it to shriek in agony before dissolving into nothingness. As the dust settled, Akari felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. She looked around at her companions, their faces etched with relief and pride. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Zephyrus approached her, his eyes filled with admiration. "You have grown strong, Akari. Your power continues to grow." Gideon smiled weakly, his hand reaching out to touch the pendant around her neck. "The artifact is a part of you now," he said softly. "It will guide you on your journey." Akari felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the implications of his words. She looked down at the glowing pendant, understanding that it would lead her to her destiny, and the truth about her people's extinction. With newfound resolve, she nodded and prepared herself for whatever challenges lay ahead. Echoes of the forgotten warrior. The air was thick with tension as the group cautiously ventured through the treacherous cave system. Akari's pendant hummed softly, guiding them along a narrow path. The walls were adorned with strange symbols that seemed to dance in the flickering torchlight. Gideon looked back at Akari and said, "I know this place. We're getting close." Zephyrus nodded, his eyes scanning the walls for any signs of danger. Akari clutched the pendant tightly, her heart racing as they continued their descent into darkness. Suddenly, a strange creature emerged from the shadows, its twisted form shifting and changing before their eyes. They had encountered one of these creatures before, but it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The group leapt into action, using their powers to fend off the creature. Akari felt her strength surging as the pendant pulsed with ethereal light, guiding her movements. She hurled the pendant at the creature, causing it to dissolve into nothingness. Exhausted but victorious, they took a moment to catch their breath. Gideon approached Akari and said, "The pendant is growing stronger. You're becoming more powerful with each battle." Akari looked down at the pendant around her neck, feeling its connection to her people, and the destiny it represented. She nodded, knowing that she would have to face many more challenges before her journey was complete. As they continued their descent, they stumbled upon a crossroads. One path led deeper into the cave system, while another led to an ancient temple atop a hill. Akari's pendant began to hum louder, drawing them towards the temple. Zephyrus looked around, sensing the power of the temple, and knowing that they were nearing their final destination. He turned to Gideon and said, "We must be cautious. The true antagonist lies ahead." Gideon nodded, his eyes filled with determination. Akari clutched her pendant tightly, feeling the weight of her destiny pressing down upon her shoulders. Akari stood at the crossroads, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the pull of the pendant growing stronger as it led her towards the temple. Her eyes scanned the ancient symbols etched onto the walls, trying to decipher their meaning. "Akari," Gideon's voice broke through her thoughts, "we should proceed." She nodded and followed him down the path towards the temple. As they ventured deeper into the barren wasteland, the air grew colder and darker. They passed by a cave system filled with strange creatures that lurked in the shadows, ready to pounce at any moment. As they approached the entrance of an enormous cave, Akari's eyes widened. Before her stood a massive statue, its features carved intricately into the stone. It bore an uncanny resemblance to someone she knew all too well. "What is this?" Zephyrus asked, his voice trembling with fear. Gideon stepped closer to inspect the statue. "It appears to be a representation of our antagonist." Akari's heart raced as she remembered the night they had been betrayed, and her people were wiped out. She clutched the pendant tightly around her neck, feeling its power surge through her veins. "We must find him," she said resolutely. "I will not let them get away with what they've done." They ventured deeper into the cave system, each step bringing them closer to their enemy. The walls were lined with strange symbols that seemed to dance and shift as they moved. Akari could feel her power growing stronger within her, fueled by her determination and anger. Suddenly, a loud rumble echoed through the cave. A large, twisted creature emerged from the shadows, its eyes burning with malice. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, a living embodiment of darkness and evil. "Stand back," Akari commanded, channeling her power into her hands. She felt the energy coursing through her veins as she prepared to face this monstrous being. The creature lunged at them, its twisted form contorting and shifting as it moved. They fought valiantly, each blow landing with a thunderous impact that shook the cave walls. Akari's power grew stronger as she battled against the beast, her anger fueling her every strike. In the end, they emerged victorious, battered but alive. As they caught their breath, Akari looked into Gideon's eyes and saw the admiration and respect reflected there. She knew that, together, they could defeat anything. "We must press on," she said, her voice determined. "The pendant has led us this far, and I will not stop until we find the truth." They continued deeper into the cave system, the mysterious symbols etched onto the walls growing more frequent and elaborate as they went. Akari could feel the power within her growing stronger with each step, guiding them towards their ultimate destination. As they ventured further, they came across a dark, damp cave filled with strange symbols etched onto the walls. The air was thick and stale, but Akari felt a familiar pull drawing her forward. She followed the symbols, her heart pounding in her chest as she approached an ancient artifact, an ethereal pendant that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. She reached out to touch it, feeling the power coursing through her veins as the pendant reacted to her touch. A sudden rush of memories flooded her mind, showing her the true nature of the antagonist and the role they played in her people's extinction. Her anger boiled over as she realized the full extent of their betrayal. She clenched her fists, vowing to bring them to justice for what they had done. The pendant glowed brighter in her hand, its power growing stronger within her. Together with Gideon and Zephyrus, Akari embarked on a mission to find the antagonist and seek revenge for their people. They would stop at nothing to bring justice and ensure that history did not repeat itself.